This video is sponsored by Thrive Market. Stay tuned for more information. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am very happy you are here today, and also welcome to season 2 of my Desperate Housewives series. I do want to thank you all so much for waiting, and I think people don't really get why these things take so long until they watch it and they're like, oh, this was a masterpiece. And I'm like, well, yeah, it took me some time. And before y'all even think about typing away and leaving a comment, season 3 is going to take a while. I have a big video coming out that is taking priority. This season is very long, very action-packed, and it also happens to be my second favorite season of the show. It does take place right after the events of season 1, so if you don't remember what happened, I would suggest you go back to my season 1 recap video, watch episodes 19 through 23 to get all caught up. Before we get into the ladies and their antics of the week, I want to talk to y'all about how you can save time and money on grocery shopping with today's sponsor, Thrive Market. Grocery shopping is one of those things that either really stresses me out because everyone is literally scrambling for items in the aisles, or I just don't have the funds for because everything keeps increasing. And all of that came to a stop once I started using Thrive Market. Thrive Market is an online-based membership grocery store that aims to make your shopping experience easy and, most importantly, affordable. By using Thrive Market's website, I was able to get products that I know and love at a much better price point than my local grocery store. And I was able to save nearly $50 on my order. My supermarket would never let that happen. What's cool about Thrive Market is that orders over $49 ship free, but what's even better is that if you find an item on their site that is cheaper somewhere else, they'll match that price for you hassle free, so you do not need to go back and forth with them wondering if you've been swindled. I am a person that enjoys the occasional snack, so I got sour cream and onion chips, pretzel sticks, and Boom Chica Pop popcorn. I've also been super obsessed with Olipop, which is the perfect middle ground for wanting a soda without all the bad stuff in it. And yes, I did get the root beer flavor. I don't care what any of y'all say, it's delicious. Thrive Market is offering a huge discount for anyone that uses my link, so make sure to click the link in my description to get 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60. Thrive is currently having a 25% off sale right now, so listen to me when I tell you, you do not want to miss it. So click the link in my description to save on your groceries today. Thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. The season 2 premiere takes place right after the events of season 1. Zach is holding a gun all ready to go for Mike. But when has this show ever done anything seriously? So tell me, what do you think happened? That's right.
Not so tough now, are you? Bongo!
Anyway, Zach flees because if there's anything he's going to do, he's going to run away. At this point, someone take him to the Olympic Village. He needs to compete. It's now been a year since Mary Alice offed herself in the middle of her living room, and now everyone is kind of getting back to normal. Well, everyone except for Bree, because Rex died and she still hasn't told the girls about it yet. Susan goes to the hospital for her hurt lip, and a police officer comes by to talk to her about Zach and his weird shooting self. Susan's pretty delirious and she's also in a lot of pain, so Mike ends up telling the officer what happened. When Julie's getting some ice for Susan, she overhears Mike telling the officer, well, you see, what had happened was Susan was the one that came for Zach. He didn't do anything. And Julie's like, I think the not, so best believe she's gonna tell her mom. Meanwhile, Carlos is in jail now, and John, since he's no longer Gabby's underage boy Gardner, is trying to woo Gabby to win her over, but she's pissed because Carlos might be in jail longer because of his little court stunt. So she kicks his annoying self out. Tom and Lynette have now officially switched places, and she's now on the hunt for another job, and Tom is settling in nicely being a stay-at-home dad. Bree finally tells the girls about Rex in a Bree kind of way.
Lynette, hi, it's Bree. I do hope I'm not calling too early. Oh, of course you can borrow that scarf. I'll press it for you. I have some news. Rex died.
Well, that's one way to do it. She's also very clearly in denial about the whole thing. She's not trying to deal with it.
We're so sorry. Oh, do one of you drink soy milk? I was cleaning out the fridge this morning, and Rex is the only one who drinks it. I just bought it on Friday. I'd hate to throw it away. What a waste.
Rex's mom comes to visit her and she's kind of a lot. Rex's mom and Bree are fighting about what Rex should be wearing when he's buried, and she comes for Bree randomly.
I even kept the dirty magazine that he hid under his mattress. He didn't think I knew about it, but I did.
Well, looks like Dad was in a big breast.
Oh, yes. That's why I was surprised when he married your mother.
Yeah, she's gotta go. Gabby goes to visit Carlos in jail, and he's not really in a talking mood. He also says he wants a paternity test for that baby. Bree and Danielle go to visit the new neighbors, Betty and Matthew. Bree only went to get Betty to play the piano at Rex's funeral, but Betty agrees to do it anyways. And while I am very happy we finally have black neighbors on the lane, why did they have to put my good sis in that sandy brown stiff ass curly hair? She looks terrible. But I have to choose my battles. Anyways, they're a little weird because Matthew says that his father died too, but that turned out to be a lie, so clearly they're hiding something. Susan puts a security sign on her lawn as a kind of Zach repellent to keep him away, and she tells Julie that Mike is literally out in the streets looking for him to put him in jail. And Julie goes, oh, that's not. So Susan talks to Mike and she's like, why aren't we putting that boy in jail? And he's like, well, I thought Paul killed my ex, but turns out it was Mary Alice, so maybe we should just give him a break. And Susan's like, oh my God, I thought this was a classy party. Also, Mike gets a call from the police saying that Zach died and he needs to identify the body. It doesn't end up being Zach, but Mike is very emotional, and Susan uses one of the 5 brain cells she has to figure out that Zach is Mike and Deirdre's son. And when Mike looks all sad about it, Susan's like, I want no part. So she leaves. Gabby goes to the hospital to get them to give her a fake paternity test because she's not about to take a real one. Why would she do that? And the receptionist obviously says no, so she takes some lady's test to use as hers. Gabby is a lot of things, but you can't tell me she's not a genius. Bree and Rex's mom are still fighting about his funeral, and she's just about ready to scrap on this lady. So she says his mom's not allowed to come to the funeral anymore. Danielle and Andrew beg Bree to let their grandma come, and she ends up talking to her, and they kind of make up, so now she can come to the funeral. Remember how I said Tom was settling into that stay-at-home life? Yeah, it's not going good for him. On the plus side, Lynette gets herself a job all while changing her daughter Penny's diaper. Susan decides to not move in with Mike anymore because she can't have her daughter around crazy Zach, so that's kind of sad. At the funeral, Bree sees that Rex is wearing a tie his mother picked out, and she's just about had enough.
Give me your tie.
What?
Give me your tie. Give it to her. Give it to her.
Betty gives Matthew a gun and serves a meal to a man locked in their basement. Susan finds Carl in his robe outside of Edie's house, and he's like, oh yeah, me and Edie go together real bad now, and Susan's tired of him ruining her life. The only reason I'm mad about this is because Edie could do better, but we move. Tom is a terrible stay-at-home dad because the house is an absolute shambles, but he says he's got it all figured out.
Oh, don't worry. I have a system.
Really?
Yeah, every 2 days, I clean.
2 days?
Yeah, I let the mess accumulate for 2 days, and then I clean until it's sparkling, and then cycle starts all over again.
Rex's mom is being overly dramatic about Rex passing away and keeps talking to everyone and their mothers about it. I get it, but it's time to move on with our lives. Carlos is still mad at Gabby over her affair, and she's like, it's literally been like 10 years. Are you still not over it? And he's not, so he took away her access to his money, so she now has to come to jail every single time she wants to spend it. Also, why does Julie look 5 years older now? Susan thinks that Carl is just dating Edie to make her feel some type of way since he literally confessed his love to her like a cool minute ago and she said no. Turns out Carl asked Edie out one day after he told Susan they should get back together. That man in the Applewhite's basement keeps rattling the chains he's all tied up in, and Matthew is tired of his noise-making self. But what's even weirder is Betty saying this.
You know we don't talk to him. That's part of his punishment.
How can you just sit here hour after hour and listen to that?
Well, that's part of mine.
Some guy is threatening Carlos in jail because he knows he's rich now and he wants $7,000, and if he doesn't get it, Carlos is gonna get his ass whooped. And Gabby says that they shouldn't give money to criminals, and Carlos is like, don't piss me off, get the money to his girlfriend. Susan and Mike technically aren't broken up, but she's not trying to be super involved with him, so she wants to keep things casual, but she kind of folds. Gabby finds the prisoner's girlfriend to give her the money, but she doesn't want to take it because turns out the money is for her to get a boob job. And Gabby's like, oh, well, if you don't want to do it, don't let a man force you to. So she takes that money back. Lynette gets home from work and sees that the house looks absolutely horrid, and Tom is like, well, honey, you have to let the system do its magic.
It's stupid. I'm gonna get new sheets.
We're not changing the sheets.
Why are you yelling at me?
I am not yelling at you, and this is not about spit up.
Of course it is.
No, it isn't. It's about control. And as you and I both know, you have some issues in this area.
Why are you fighting so hard to sleep on baby vomit?
I'm fighting for a principle.
Yeah. Then they start tussling the bed sheets.
No. Tom, come on. No, you come on. Just get out. Get out.
That's it.
All right, fine. 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 Fine.
I'm trying really hard not to laugh. She then gets the genius idea to bring a rat into the house to form Tom to clean. And it works. Susan finds Betty and tells her, girl, there's this weird banging noise from your house. What's that all about? And Betty's like, oh, Matthew's just building stuff around the house. And Susan's like, you're a little liar because he's right behind you. Rex's mom starts hysterically crying at dinner and Bree's like, all right, lady, time's up.
Is she gonna be okay?
Yeah, sure. Hold on a second. There we go. Feel better?
Meanwhile, the money from Rex's life insurance still hasn't come through, and it's because one of the doctors think that his death was a little fishy. He ended up finding the note that Rex wrote before he died, and he's like, yeah, Bree killed him. Something terrible then happens. George's weird psychopathic self shows up at Bree's house, and he wants to take her out to make her feel better, but she's not ready to do all that just yet. Also, Rex's mom, Phyllis, sees her and George hugging, so now she's getting suspicious of Bree. She then calls the insurance claims office and tells them that Bree has a little boyfriend, so now they're also suspicious of Bree. Since that prisoner didn't get the money, Carlos got beat up and wants Gabby to convince that girl to get that boob job. And Gabby's like, well, to do that, I need access to your money, so pick a struggle. And Carlos isn't trying to die, so he gives her access again. Edie and Susan are fighting about Carl not really liking Edie, and Susan ends up backing her over with her car. Carl then comes by Susan's and is like, you're weird. That's why I'm moving in with Edie. And Susan's like, good for you. But they end up having a nice little chat, so they're good now. Betty goes to therapy and she's telling her psychiatrist about how her husband was once very abusive to her. So he gives her some meds to help with her nightmares, and she says that her husband paid for what he did to her. Turns out that was all a lie. She just needed the meds to put that in the basement man's food. Bree and Phyllis are visiting Rex's grave, and she goes to her like, so, when are you gonna leave? And Phyllis is like, not sure yet. I'm just vibing right now. And when they get to Rex's grave, he ain't in there. And Bree is obviously like, where the f is my husband? And Phyllis is like, oh, I think I know what happened.
Maybe this has something to do with that insurance investigator.
insurance investigator?
He came by asking all sorts of questions.
I don't know what you're talking about, Phyllis.
Maybe you were at the store. Anyway, he was very suspicious.
Suspicious?
Oh, yes. He has a theory that Rex didn't die of a heart attack. He thinks he was poisoned.
Gabby keeps having dreams about John, and she's also like secretly watching him now, which is very weird behavior. Susan is feeling some type of way because Edie is trying to play mother to Julie by spending time with her and whatnot, and Susan's not about to let that happen. Bree goes to the insurance officer like, why did y'all dig up my husband? And he's like, well, we just wanted to check to see if there was something sus about his death. Bree is confused because she knows she didn't do anything, and now she's ready to scrap with Phyllis. But Bree is a proper woman, so instead she packs all of her things to go. Apparently it's Carlos and Gabby's anniversary, and he just completely forgot about it.
All right.
How could you forget our anniversary? You sit in a cell all day long staring at a calendar.
What's the big deal? Our marriage was a sham anyway.
Well, he's not lying. Remember that man in the Applewhite's basement? Yeah, he goes crazy all of a sudden.
Okay.
So the only black people we get on the lane have to be weird. Right. Julie and Edie are doing a show at the church because I guess Edie is musically talented. I love that for her. Anyway, Susan feels some type of way about it, so she goes to Betty to ask her to coach her to play the piano since Betty knows how to play it. But when they're talking, she sees blood on her shirt. And Betty's not trying to look suspicious to the neighbors, so she agrees to help her. Gabby's on another secret John watch, and she sees him mowing another mom's lawn like he used to do for her. She's now pissed because she's the only one that should be able to take advantage of him, so she does something kind of crazy. The officers need to put her in jail too. Mike goes to visit Felicia since she just got out of the hospital to be nice, but really, he's just trying to find out where Zach is. And she's like, I don't know and I don't care. That weirdo beat me with a hockey stick. Mike then tells her that he didn't kill Paul, and she's like, you're literally the biggest idiot I've ever met in my life. After her little piano lesson, Susan goes to Julie and Edie and is like, hey guys, I practiced a little bit. Let me play with y'all. And Edie's like, no, you have no musical talent. And Susan's like, okay, let's let Julie decide.
And remember, it's church. They are going to be judging you.
Okay. Well, first of all, you both suck. But if I had to choose, I guess I'd pick my mom.
Well, that was a dumb decision. John shows up at Gabby's and is like, I know you messed up the lawn. And she's like, well, that's because you're supposed to be in love with me. And he's like, well, I love this new lady now. So now she's done with John. Bree takes a polygraph test to prove to Andrew and Danielle that she did not kill Rex, and it doesn't go that well.
Are you in love with Mr. Williams?
What?
Are you in love with Mr. Williams?
No.
I was thinking of something else just then, so why don't you ask me the question again?
Are you in love with Mr. Williams?
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So Bree then goes to George to tell him about the police's weird theory about how maybe George was poisoning Rex for Bree, and he's like, what? That's crazy. And she's like, yeah, I know. So I need you to go take that polygraph test too. During their performance at the church, Susan has an epiphany all of a sudden and lets Edie play. Gabby goes to the jail to visit Carlos, and she actually talks to him about how she's feeling for once.
I've been thinking, you know, about everything that happened with John and was really selfish and stupid. And I'm sorry. I really am sorry.
For some reason I can't hate her too much. Anyways, her and Carlos are good now. George takes that polygraph test, and since he's a pathological liar, he passes it. Lynette is really struggling with balancing work and missing things at home, and she's really sad because Parker now has an imaginary friend because she's never home. Mike and Susan are still doing the casual thing, but he's not really with it. So he's like, I know you don't like Zach, but either you get over it or we should just be done. And Susan doesn't have a backbone, so why would she say no? Bree and George are now kind of dating, but she's taking things really slow, and Andrew's not with it.
A couple new restaurants I'd like to try.
You know, we've been eating out a lot lately. Why don't you come over Friday for a home-cooked meal? Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, I would love that. So you leaving or what?
We need season 1 Andrew to make an appearance again and spit on him just for the one time. He kind of does because him and George start tussling a little bit. Lynette gets called to the school because Parker went a little crazy for his imaginary friend and starts crying because she thinks her going to work is ruining her son's life. Bree makes George come to dinner so him and Andrew can get along, and Andrew's like, I think the f not.
Well, let's be honest. I think it's obvious by the way that you talk and act that you're not a player. So I was just curious to find out if you had ever actually gotten in the game.
My experience with women is none of your business.
Well, I think it is. I mean, you're dating my mom. And we both know that at your age, dating's a little more than just holding hands.
George then has a little outburst and he leaves. Gabby is trying to get a conjugal visit so her and Carlos can get it on, and she goes to this lawyer, David, to make that happen. But he turns out to be a weirdo.
Mrs. Solis, you are a beautiful, desirable woman. Now, your husband is a dimwit, corrupt, violent criminal. You could do so much better.
Are you hitting on me?
What would you say if I were?
I'd say I'm pregnant.
He helps her out anyways. Mike and Susan go around town with missing Zach flyers, and Susan ends up finding Zach at the park.
Oh, Zach? Zach! Oh, no, 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 don't, Zach, don't, Zach, don't run away! Wait! Come on, would you get back here? Come on, really, let's just talk!
Bree tells George that they can't date anymore because obviously Andrew feels some type of way about it, and he's like, oh, I have another idea.
That place you sent him to, that behavioral modification camp, you got counseling there, right?
But I only sent him there because his behavior at the time was so completely out of bounds.
You don't think that what he said to me was out of bounds?
I just think if I spend a lot of time with him, it'll really help.
Why not do both? Let him spend a few months with some caring professionals and then bring him home.
You know, what he said to you was horribly rude, but that camp, it's extreme. And, I mean, unless I felt like Andrew was getting really out of control, then...
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
I'm tired of this man. Susan finds Zach at the park again, and she decides to be nice and buy him some lunch so the two of them can talk. While they're talking, he goes on and on about wanting to find his dad, but even more, he keeps talking about how he misses Julie. And Susan is like, oh, maybe you should go look for your dad. I'll help you. So she gives him the money to go to Utah. Lynette is tired of Parker's imaginary friend, so she gets rid of her.
Miss Mulberry! She's back!
Oh! Goody!
Mrs. Mulberry's back! Ran over. She's dead.
Don't you worry. I'm here.
Maybe it's okay, buddy. Maybe we can call 911 or...
No, Tom, she's gone.
She feels bad about it though. George comes to Andrew's swim meet to say bye to Bree, and he even gives her a parting gift, but he's doing way too much, so obviously Andrew gets mad and he goes off.
Oh, George! George!
George!
Andrew, what are you doing?
Violence is normally something that is looked down upon, but I am not one of those people. But Bree didn't appreciate it, so he goes to juvenile delinquent camp again. Lynette's boss at work is stressed like all the time and takes her job way too seriously. So Lynette goes to her like, girl, let's go get some drinks. So they get to talking and she realizes that old girl has been single for like 50 years. So she fixes her up with a man. And it works because Nina walks in loving life and whatnot because she got some last night. Susan's book agent comes by her house because I guess she writes children's books. And I'm not going to make a comment about that because that would be getting too predictable. Anyways, he comes by to say that he's leaving the agency and she should come with him. And she's like, of course I'll come. Let me just call the agency and tell them I'm leaving. And he's like, oh, about that, I actually got fired.
I got into this thing where I had to move a little client money around temporarily to cover some expenses.
You had to move money? What does that mean?
I took a little from here and I moved it there. It was no big deal.
Really? Because it sort of sounds like embezzlement.
Why do people keep using that word?
I really shouldn't find this so funny. Anyway, she says she'll still come with him. Gabby and Carlos are in a good place now, except for the fact that he doesn't like their new lawyer.
I don't think so.
Also, we finally get a look at Edie's new house and it needed an episode in Architectural Digest. Betty comes by her house to give her some mail and the news is on talking about how a young high school girl got and it piques her interest. She then gets back home and tells Matthew about it.
Did you see the news? They've arrested somebody.
Yeah. Looks like we're in the clear.
Now, what were y'all getting up to before y'all moved on to the lane? The police are releasing Rex's body and Bree wants to have a reburial without the kids and the girls agree to come. Nina is going a little overboard with going out and Lynette is tired of her ass. Betty goes to talk to the man downstairs, Caleb, about the dead girl on the news and she tells him to talk to her about it. Meanwhile, Matthew finds a letter Betty wrote saying the police arrested the wrong guy and she knows the real killer. So Matthew is like, Mom, what the hell is this? So she runs upstairs and they start arguing and we kind of find out what happened.
You want to do the right thing? Well, then call 911 and tell them you got a killer locked up in the basement.
He is not a killer. He was confused. He didn't know what he was doing.
He knows a lot more than you give him credit for.
I made him the letter.
We move. Susan finds out that her agent moved some of her money in his embezzlement scheme, so she's not going to work with him anymore. Bree goes to the morgue to get Rex's body back, and the officer working on the case tells her that Rex knew he was being poisoned. Gabby begs David to come back and win over Carlos, and it's interesting.
So the minute we leave this room, I'm going to aggressively pursue her. And when I succeed, which I will, we're going to fly to my chateau in Chamonix and have dinner in a local bistro. They make the best raclette in all of Europe. We'll make love by the fire and afterwards do a little midnight skiing. You ski, don't you? You're athletic, you'll learn. Anyway, all of this only happens if you fire me. If you keep me on as your lawyer, your wife's off limits. I'd get disbarred for sleeping with the client's wife, and nobody's worth that, not even her.
Nina won't let Lynette go back home to her kids, and Lynette's like, okay, I'm gonna make you wish that you sent me home. Who knew Lynette could get down like that? At the reburial, Bree is pissed that Rex thought she was poisoning him, and she goes off.
Well, maybe he was forgiving you for something else.
I have done nothing to be forgiven for. I was a fantastic wife. When he was sick, I nursed him. When we were low on money, I stayed within a budget. I cooked his meals, I mended his clothes. For the love of God, I used to check his back for acne. And that miserable son of a bitch has the nerve to understand and forgive me? Well, the joke's on him because I do not understand and I do not forgive.
The episode ends with Paul opening up some mail in his house. Bree and George are getting ready to do the deed, but they don't because she breaks out into hives. So she goes to her therapist to tell him all about it, and he thinks that her mind won't let her do that with George, and she thinks that's crazy. Gabby and David are about to go to Carlos's hearing, but some crazy guy starts yelling at him and he gets shot at while protecting Gabby. So he ends up in the hospital. Paul is outside mowing the lawn like it's a regular day, and the girls are like, I know he's not back here like we're all cool again. Susan sees him and she's obviously freaked out because she knows he killed Martha. So Bree and Gabby assemble like the Avengers and call the police. The police come and question Paul, but they don't find anything sus about him, so she tells them to talk to Mike, and he lies his ass off.
Your girlfriend said Mr. Young confessed to murder to you?
No. No, not to me.
And I don't suppose you have a journal that belonged to a Martha Huber?
No, I hardly knew her.
But he had a good reason for it.
Since I was on probation.
Well, right. I mean, there's that.
And in possession of a gun.
Well, okay.
Which I held to his head. So I violated my probation, committed a felony, and coerced a confession. If the cops found out about that, I'd be looking at 10 to 15 years.
But why don't you want him to know about Martha Hooper's journal? I mean, she says right in there that she was blackmailing Paul's wife.
She also says right in there that she was blackmailing you for burning down Edie's house.
Oh. I forgot about that.
It really amazes me how dumb she is sometimes. Gabby and David are at the court hearing and he randomly runs out. So when she runs after him, he says this.
I'm sorry, I quit.
You can't just quit in the middle of a hearing.
I'd love to get your idiot husband out of jail, but I just can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, why not?
Because I'm in love with you.
What?
The other day in the hospital, I started to feel something. I don't know. Maybe it was there all along.
Now Carlos thinks that Gabby and David planned this whole thing so they could be together, and he's pissed. Paul comes into Susan's house and he has the missing Zach flyer Susan and Mike were passing around town. So obviously he's like, where's my son?
He took a bus to Bountiful. Did you have family there, right? Okay, I gave him the bus fare.
Bree and George check into a hotel far away so they can get it on, but her rash flares up again, so George ends up getting her her own room, and now she's all better. While they're at dinner, George brings some pills to help with Bree's rash, and he gives it to her. She ends up getting super messed up because she mixed medicine with alcohol, and since he's a pharmacist, he knew that it would do that to her. So he takes her up to her room, and something odd happens.
I love you very much, Bree. You know that, right?
I know.
More than anything, for you to love me back. You understand what I'm saying? Bree?
Don't worry, he didn't actually do anything to her, but he does say something a little weird.
There's only so much rejection I can take. So, I'll do my best. But don't be surprised if one of these days you wake up and I'm not here.
And it works because they end up sleeping together. Gabby blackmails David, so now he's her lawyer again. Mike goes to Paul and tells him to get lost because literally no one wants him there. And Paul says that Susan told him some crazy story about sending Zach to Utah. So he confronts her about it.
Did you give Zach money to go to Utah?
What?
Yes or no?
He was talking so much about Julie. I tried to get him to come home with me, to you. But he just kept going on and on about her, and I got scared.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Mike ends up breaking up with her, and now Susan's sobbing in the middle of the street. Girl, get up. Lynette is kind of sad because no one in the neighborhood wants their children to play with her twin boys since they're literally every parent's worst nightmare, and she just wants a day off from watching them. That is until her twins are wrestling with some other twins, and the mom and her agree to watch each other's kids since they're all terrible. The girls get together to comfort Susan in her time of need. Well, except for Edie.
Susan, why are you so eerily calm? Mike Delfino just dumped you. The Susan Meyer I know would be a blubbering mess right now. Oh, come on. Trot her on out. She's fun to watch.
I will always be an Edie supporter. Shockingly, Susan is fine about the whole thing. Tom and Lynette are watching the neighbor's kids, and it goes well until she catches them and Porter watching a homemade tape the neighbors made. Gabby is having some of her old model girlies come in from New York to visit, so she buys a brand new dress to show off, and she's absolutely serving in it. But she's gotten a bit bigger since, you know, she's kind of pregnant, but she's not trying to look pregnant in front of her friends.
You know, it's a little snug.
Yeah, I see that. I have the same thing in a 0. Why not go up a size?
Because I wear 00, you twerp.
Why getting snippy?
Because you just called me fat.
Honey, you're pregnant. Your body's changing.
But I'm only 3 months pregnant. Women don't show at 3 months.
Some women do. Do you want the larger size or not?
I'm just not gonna eat for 2 days.
We love the early 2000s terrible body standards for women. Susan overhears Edie and Carl arguing outside her front door. And for once, Susan minds her business because she thinks that's kind of ghetto. She does go to Mike's because he put all of the stuff that she left at his place on her front porch, and she goes to talk to him about it in the Susan cutesy kind of way, and he clearly doesn't want to see her ass. George just bought a new house and he brings Bree to see it, and he uses that opportunity to do something real stupid.
You really like it?
I do. I really do.
Good, because I was sort of hoping that you might like to live here. Bree, will you marry me?
So because his mom was standing right there when he asked, she feels all pressured, so she says yes. She then talks to her therapist about it, and at this point, she's booking daily appointments.
It was just awful. George had a ring. His mother and her friend were there with champagne. If I had said no, it would have devastated him.
So you agreed to marry him just to be polite?
Well, obviously, there's a downside to having good manners.
Tom and Lynette tell the neighbors that they saw the little tape they made, and it goes about as well as you would expect.
One of your private videos made its way into Jimmy and PJ's bag.
Please, tell me the kids didn't see it.
Oh, no, don't worry. I caught it. Right before you took off your bra.
I have to go. Oh, Norma, I really just thought you needed to know what happened.
Carl comes by to Susan's because him and Edie broke up, and it's because she found a picture of Susan in his stuff. So they get to talking and drinking a little wine, and they end up sleeping together, which really isn't all that shocking except that Julie finds them. I wonder what it's like to have idiots for parents. Carl wants to get back together with Susan, and she's like, no, that was just let's get over our exes. You can go. Tom and Lynette go to talk to the home video parents about how they still want their boys to play together, and they're cool with it. They even show them how they make their spicy videos in their basement. And Tom and Lynette find them weird, so no more play dates for the twins. George, being the weirdo he is, throws a yay, we're engaged party without telling Bree. The only thing I'm confused about is how George has this many friends. So she finally comes to her senses and says that they should slow down on this whole thing because her therapist thinks this whole thing is crazy. It's been a while since we've seen the Applewhites, so let me catch you up. That crazy man Caleb escaped from their basement because Betty is a dumbass. You know what they say about boy moms, they never want to let their sons go to jail. Actually, it's because Caleb has some kind of mental disability, so he doesn't really have the mind of a 20-year-old man, so he doesn't really understand the complexities of life or his actions. Matthew goes looking for him in Bree's backyard, and he runs into Danielle, and she kind of likes him. Edie tells Susan that her and Carl are back together again. But she doesn't know that Susan and Carl slept together, and Susan keeps that information to herself. George knows that Bree's therapist is the one that's feeding her ideas that's keeping the two of them apart, so he finds him while he's on a run and throws him over the bridge. Also, turns out that Caleb was in Gabby's house this entire time, and because Gabby fell down the stairs running away from him, she ends up in the hospital. All the neighbors on the lane get together to talk about Caleb the intruder, and Miss McCluskey is tired of the shenanigans on the street. So she suggests that they get some kind of professional security to roam the streets to keep trouble away, and Betty's like, I don't know about that. So she distracts everyone with her amazing piano skills, and they all forget about it. Because Gabby had that unfortunate fall down the stairs, she ended up suffering a miscarriage, but she says she's okay. Carlos, on the other hand, is really going through it. And for some reason, he's really mad at her for not being incredibly depressed about it.
Is this new?
Do you like it? I picked it up on the way here.
You just lost a baby.
We all grieve differently.
You seem to be taking it pretty well.
I go shopping, you rip toilets out of the wall. Different strokes.
I mean, she didn't want to have the baby in the first place, but okay. Bree is looking through her newspaper and finds her and George's engagement on the front page. And she's like, I know that short pharmacist with the weird smile didn't tell everyone about our engagement. So she finds him at the drugstore and goes off.
We discussed this. We agreed to go slowly. I was going to call and cancel after our talk, but things just got so hectic, I forgot. Bryce has only been dead for 7 weeks. So I don't want every woman in this town talking about me behind my back.
But she gets over it. Then, like 5 seconds later, George asks her to start wearing her ring in public. And she does. Lynette thinks the twins don't understand the concept of stranger danger because they keep playing around the street at night. So her and Tom decide to do a little safety boot camp with them.
Okay, guys. What do we do if a stranger asks us to take a ride in their car? Porter.
We run away and call 911.
Good man. Right, but what if that stranger says, hey, I know your mommy and daddy? What, Preston?
Still run away.
Yes. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, by all means.
What if the stranger is nice and not scary? Yes?
Run away and call 911.
And Lynette still isn't convinced that the boys have street smarts. A random lady comes by Breeze because she saw her and George's engagement in the paper and says that they need to talk.
We'd been dating for 6 months when he asked me to marry him. From the moment I said yes, George got so possessive. And when he found out my ex lived just down the street, George accused me of seeing him behind his back. And then one night, I got a call from the police. Someone had set my ex's car on fire. I could never prove anything, but I knew it was George. I left him the next day. Well, I don't know what to say. I know, it's upsetting.
Susan's mom is getting married, and it made Susan want to find out the identity of her birth father, and her mom keeps lying to her about it, and Susan clocks her. So she then goes to her mom's fiance about it, and he tells her the real story.
Your father wasn't a war hero. I mean, he wasn't in Vietnam.
Well, why would my mother tell me that?
Sophie wasn't married to your father. I'm not sure she even knew his name.
Are you saying that I'm the result of my mother having a one-night stand?
Well, like I said, we've all done things that we're ashamed of.
Bree finds George at the drugstore to tell him about the lady at her house, and he's like, she's crazy. I literally used to give her prescription drugs to help with her mood swings. But Bree's not really buying it. Lynette pays the desk assistant at her job to try and kidnap her boys to prove to Tom that they are too trusting. And the experiment goes kind of interesting.
You like carnivals?
We're not allowed to talk to strangers.
Run, boys.
So, why don't you boys get in the car?
Run away.
Get in the car and I'll give you some candy.
Yeah, candy!
Why aren't they running away? Well, this is not the time to be smug. Clearly, our sons are idiots.
Well, yes, but I thought you knew that. Miss McCluskey then tases him because she thinks he's actually trying to take the boys. She may be old, but the people should be very afraid. At the wedding, Susan's mom has some kind of breakdown and tells her the actual story about her birth father.
Your father was not a one-night stand. He was 33. And he was married. And he was my boss. When I told him I was pregnant, he broke it off. He never spoke to me again.
You couldn't have said this before the wedding? Anyway, Susan is now mad because her mom knew where her birth father was this entire time. George and Bree go to dinner, but he notices that she's not wearing her engagement ring anymore. And she's like, leave me alone. I'm not wearing it anymore. She also runs into an old friend and George acts really weird about it.
Goodness. Oh, George, this is Ty Grant. We used to date in college. Ty, this is George. He's a good friend of mine.
Actually, we're engaged.
Bree, you look fantastic. You haven't aged.
Ty, would you like to dance?
Sure.
He then tries to force her to wear it, and she's had enough.
Am I in the middle of something?
Well, at least put on the ring.
No. George, I don't want to.
We are engaged. You have to wear it.
George,
knock it off, man.
Sorry. We're engaged.
See, the thing is, I don't think we are anymore.
Carlos sends an old prison buddy to help Gabby get over the loss of her baby, and he actually helps her.
I didn't even want this baby.
Yeah.
And I would have been a terrible mother.
If you say so.
If it was a boy, I was gonna name it Charlie.
Yeah?
And a girl, Aurora.
Those are nice names.
Mike catches Caleb running through the street, so he ends up getting arrested. Bree is hosting another one of her legendary dinners, and George's weird ass is ruining it by serenading her outside. So she gets him off her lawn.
Last night, you got a right to...
Gabby gets a call from the prison saying Carlos escaped, but it actually turned out to be Carlos. He's now a free man, and he's also found God. Susan goes to spy on her birth father to kind of suss him out a bit, and she really likes him. Lynette has been beefing with her boss Nina literally since the day she got hired, and she's tired of her attitude. So when Lynette comes in late to the office to get something she left, she finds Nina hooking up with the front desk boy. She now has ammo on her, and the one thing she wants is for her to stop being rude all the time, and Nina's like, fine. Okay. Carlos starts going to church with a nun, Sister Mary, and Gabby doesn't like her because she's kind of cute. Nina ends up firing the front desk boy to save herself, so the deal she had with Lynette is off. She also says there's going to be a new round of firings going on, so Lynette needs to watch her back. Susan tries to get a job at her birth father's shop, and he thinks she's kind of sus, so he tries to kick her out, and she's like, sir, I'm literally your daughter.
Pretty hair, you got a sexy walk, you got a tight little ass.
Oh, I'm your daughter.
What?
Back in the 60s, you had a brief relationship with a young girl, Sophie Bremer. She got pregnant and had a baby, and that baby was me, which makes you my father.
This shocks him so much that he ends up passing out in the back room. I'd be scared if I had Susan as a daughter too. Bree goes to see her therapist in the hospital to tell him that she left George because he's weird, and he spills some tea that Bree wasn't expecting.
Just didn't seem to me to be the sort of thing that you could cure.
I don't believe in evil either. We're all just people.
How can you not believe in evil? A man just threw you off a bridge for no reason.
Exactly. He didn't know anything about me. He just rode up on his little blue bike and tried to hurt me. Do I think he's wicked? No, he's
disturbed. His problems probably stem from a chemical imbalance.
Lynette tricks the ex-front desk boy to out Nina for the little liar she is by asking for his job back. Susan takes her birth father to the hospital, and when they talk, he doesn't really want anything to do with her. Gabby invites the nun over to dinner to see if she's interested in Carlos, but it ends up taking a turn because now Carlos thinks that money is evil and he doesn't want it anymore. Now Gabby has a problem because the nun is messing with her money and she's trying to take her husband.
To satisfy your materialism, he ended up breaking the law. To deal with your adultery, he resorted to assault. As long as he's with you, he will never find what he's looking for.
Well, I guess he should have thought of that before he married me.
Some marriages are meant to be annulled.
What the hell kind of nun are you? Look, if you try to come between me and my husband, I will take you down.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago. If you want to threaten me, you're gonna have to do a lot better than that.
A nun from Southside? Oh, okay. Lynette gets a promotion because the ex-front desk boy sued the company for sexual harassment and the boss fired everyone else. But now she regrets ever talking to that boy because her new boss is even worse than Nina. George writes Bree a note saying he's gonna off himself and he would like her to come and say goodbye. He takes a bunch of pills expecting for Bree to come up and save him so he doesn't actually off himself. She then calls the police to come and get him, and she learned some new information.
Hello, Detective Barton. This is Bree Vandekamp. I need to talk to you about George Williams.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to call you.
Mrs. Vandekamp, my men are at his house right now, and they've uncovered evidence that suggests Mr. Williams was responsible for your husband's death.
What? Yeah, we found Rex's prescription bottles and doctored potassium pills, as well as some disturbing diary entries.
Bree just keeps going through the ringer because again, she is shocked beyond belief. George wakes up and sees that Bree didn't come up and he's like, oh, I might need to go to the hospital. Bree then comes in the room and he thinks she's here to save him, but he's an idiot.
Look, I'm in trouble here. We need to call someone.
Not until you admit what you've done.
I love you. Anything I may have done, I did for you. Because you wanted me to. You know you did.
So Bree lets him pass away. Zach comes back from wherever he is, and he's now reunited again with his dad. Who knew they hugged? Since Zach knows the whole story on his mom, he's like, okay, who's my father? And Paul's like, I don't know. Andrew finally comes back from delinquent camp and Bree tells him what's been going on.
So are the police sure?
Yeah. They found data in George's personal computer and also records at his pharmacy that pretty much proves that he was poisoning your father.
Did they say why he killed him?
Well, the detective seems to think he was trying to get your father out of the way so he could marry me. Honey, please use your coaster. That's gonna leave a ring.
My father was murdered because of you. So as far as I'm concerned, you no longer get to tell me what to do.
He also says he's gonna have his fooling around buddy Justin come over just to make Bree mad. Susan's dad comes by because Susan kind of blackmailed him into hanging out with her, but he doesn't really want to talk to her. That is until he gets arrested paying for and needs her to bail him out. When Susan drops him off at home, his wife sees him leaving her car. So she now thinks he's cheating again, and she spray paints Susan's garage. Gabby is tired of Sister Mary trying to take her husband, so she offers the church money to fund their relief trip to Botswana. Lynette is trying to get a daycare going on in the office building so she can see her kids more, and the only thing that's stopping that from happening is the boss's wife because she doesn't want any help. So she tries to convince her that this would be a necessity for everyone.
Parcher and Murphy can't have a daycare center unless we have at least 16 kids, and without little Mindy, we only have 15.
Well, that's not my problem.
Okay.
Lynette? Yeah? Can I ask you something? Yeah. Why did you have kids if you weren't gonna raise them?
Sister Mary figures out that it was Gabby who sent the relief money, so she asks Carlos to come with her on the trip.
I'm only going to be gone for 2 months. This journey is important for me. I want to be one of God's soldiers.
And you will be one, Carlos. After you see the devastation over there, you're never the same. You see how selfish your old life is. And you just want to get rid of everything that reminds you of it.
This nun is some kind of evil genius. Lynette tells her boss to stand up and tell his wife he wants their baby in daycare so he can spend time with her too. Ed was a dumbass and stole his baby without telling his wife, so when she comes to get her baby back, Lynette locks the door with the baby until they agree to have the daycare. Susan's birth father's wife finds Susan at the grocery store to yell at her about getting with her husband as if that's Susan's fault.
My husband! No, I'm not suing him! He's my father!
I'm so sorry. I thought you should know, but he didn't want to tell you.
How old are you?
38.
We've been married 39 years. It's been going on from the start.
Believe me, I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to find my dad.
I'm glad you did. But you be careful, sweetheart. He's gonna break your heart.
Well, Miss Girl, you should have left him decades ago. Andrew's still not talking to Bree, and she's really trying to make things right, so she tells him something to try to fix things.
George didn't intend to commit suicide. He was trying to manipulate me into taking him back, and he swallowed those pills hoping that I'd feel sorry for him. He just assumed that I would call an ambulance. I tried to get him to accept responsibility for what he'd done. But he wouldn't.
So what'd you do?
And Andrew is glad she told him this information. Betty plans some kind of heist to get Caleb out of the psych ward he's being held in by saying she's a piano player for the patients. Also, some guy who knows about Caleb's case sneaks into the hospital to drug him up and take him. But he doesn't because he sees Matthew breaking Caleb out while Betty's playing the piano. Paul tells Mike to leave Zach alone because he doesn't want Zach to know that Mike's his real father. He also says that they're moving away, and Mike's like, I think not. If you move, I'll have the police come arrest you. Gabby is trying to prevent Carlos from leaving to Botswana with cute sister Mary, so she finds another way to delay the trip.
Here.
He didn't fill out the allergy section.
Honey, he's going to a remote village in Africa. Does it really matter that he's allergic to eggs?
Actually, yes. Eggs are on the list. He could have a severe reaction to the yellow fever vaccine. Then he won't be getting out of bed, let alone leaving the country.
Really? Oh, don't write that down. I wasn't being specific. He's allergic to fish eggs.
Fish eggs?
Poor baby's gone his whole life without caviar. Now that's suffering.
Carlos then gets sick and can't go on the trip. The gang is all together at Bree's for a little party, and they're all talking about their old high school days as if it was the peak of their existence.
I know you cheerleader types. You wouldn't have said boo to guys like me. No, you were more interested in guys like this. Now, I take it you didn't play the tuba.
No, I didn't.
I didn't even have my first kiss until I was 18. 18? Pathetic, I know.
Poor baby. I would have kissed you.
No, you wouldn't have.
Yes, I would have.
No, you wouldn't have. And it's okay, Gabby. Those scars healed a long time ago.
Oh, for God's sakes, come here. Now, on behalf of all the cheerleaders in the world, forgive us.
Yeah, Lynette didn't find that funny at all. Gabby gets mad because it was just a little jokey joke, and Lynette's like, well, you can joke without kissing my husband. Since Paul and Zach are back together again, he wants Zach to be homeschooled because he doesn't want people, aka Mike, being too close to them, and Zach is confused. Bree sees Andrew and Justin kissing outside, and she doesn't handle it very well.
I saw what you did with your friend.
Oh, and you didn't turn into a pillar of salt. Good for you.
This is not a joke, Andrew. What if the neighbors had seen you?
Well, I'd hope they'd think that I landed a hottie.
I may not be able to control what you do outside of this home, but while you are under this roof, you will not mock my values. If you so much as smile at that boy, so help me, I will ship you off to Camp Hennessy, and I will not pick you up again until you are 18.
I don't like that. Andrew also insinuates that she has a little drinking problem, so she needs to worry about herself. Zach comes to apologize to Susan and Julie for all the weird stuff he did to them, and they feel kind of bad for him because now he's stuck with Paul all day. So Susan and Julie suggest they all go bowling so Zach and Mike can mingle, but Paul doesn't know about it. Lynette and Bree talk about Gabby's newest kiss of the week, and Bree spills some tea.
To be honest, I don't think I would have liked it either.
Yeah, but I probably should have just gone with it. Gabby was just being Gabby, having fun.
Well, I wouldn't be so hard on yourself given her history.
What do you mean?
You know, the affair.
Gabby had an affair?
You didn't know?
No.
I thought everybody knew.
Bree finds Andrew and Justin in bed together, and she will not have gay under her roof, so she's had enough.
I am serious, Andrew. You tell him to get out of here this second, or I will call the police and I will have him removed.
Well, go ahead. Call him.
Oh, you think I won't?
I just wonder how they'll react when they find out that you killed George Williams.
Yeah, see, that's why you can't have a child that's as smart as you. Lynette finds Gabby and Tom hanging out in the house, and she's pissed. And Gabby gets all mad, and she tells Carlos, all I did was have an affair with my underage boy Gardner, and it had nothing to do with her, so why is she so pressed?
Carlos, can you stop putting for 2 seconds and show me some support?
What do you expect me to do? You brought this on yourself.
It was a harmless little kiss. Why is everybody making a big deal about this?
Because you had an affair with an underage gardener. People don't think you're harmless. They see you as a predator.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a little funny. She then says since he's all mad, he should go have an affair too, so they can be even. The man that came for Caleb comes by the house when Betty and Matthew are gone, and he finds that Caleb's being locked in the basement, and he tries to get it open. And somehow he's able to get him out and in handcuffs. He's about to take him away, but he stupidly shot himself, and now he's DEAD. Betty and Matthew come back and are like, oh my god. What happened? His phone starts ringing, and it's a call from someone named Foster. They're now freaked out because Foster is the last name of the girl that Caleb killed. They try to get rid of his body, but they lock him and the keys in the trunk, so they're kind of screwed. Bree goes to Carl since he's a lawyer to help with stopping Andrew from ruining her life. Lynette gets over the kiss and apologizes to Gabby, so they're cool now. And she also kisses Carlos to prove a point. Mike, Susan, Julie, and Zach all go bowling together, and this boy is terrible. On the plus side, him and Mike are now getting along. Bree brings Carl the lawyer to the house, and they both outsmart Andrew.
What if she went over there to help him commit suicide?
If you want to lie to the police, go right ahead, but please know that I will sue you.
For what?
Abusive process. It's when a person tries to exploit the legal system for an improper purpose, like blackmail.
You guys can't sue me. I'm just a kid.
Oh, don't worry, I won't start garnishing your wages until you turn 18.
Carlos goes to Lynette asking if she would have an affair with him to please Gabby, and she's like, no, I'm good. Paul goes into Zach's room and finds the bowling scorecard they used. So he knows Mike was with his son, and he goes off.
Delphina. Stay away from my son.
Mike and him end up tussling in the middle of the street, which causes Susan to crash into the car in front of the Applewhites' house. The trunk pops open and everyone sees a man in there, and they're like, what kind of ghetto shit is going on here? The girls get to talking and they think the Applewhites had something to do with it because they're weird. Susan meets a doctor after going on a terrible date that led to her ending up in the hospital, and she thinks he's real cute. There's a blood drive going on, and all the girls are talking about how nice Betty has been since that body has been found in front of her house, and Edie's not buying it. They all tell Bree that she should meet up with Detective Barton that accused her of poisoning Rex to get some info on the Applewhites. Matthew is getting annoyed because he wants to flee now, and Betty's like, let's wait so we can get our story straight first. Zach is also donating some blood, and he finds out some interesting information from one of the nurses.
Look at this, AB negative.
Yeah, it's the rarest of all blood types.
Well, there must be something in the water around these parts. You're my second AB negative today.
Seriously? Who was it?
That guy.
Betty is now getting to work on building their moving story, so she tells Bree that her mom is sick, so they might have to leave. The twins get chickenpox and are sent home from school, and Tom wants no part, so he calls Lynette to come home and deal with it. Turns out he's never had it, and he ain't trying to get it now. Gabby's new gardener tells her that he was stumbling across some sites on the internet that his wife didn't like, and she left him because of it. And Gabby's like, what does that have to do with me? And he's like, oh no, you're in it, ma'am.
I think you really need to see this.
Oh my God!
The lighting looks great on you, Miss Solis. I mean, most of the time you have to squint at the screen to see anything really good. And not here, no sir, that's good.
Remember that man, Mr. Taylor, that was paying Mike to find out what happened to his daughter? Yeah, he's on his deathbed now, and he's about to go any second. So Mike tells him the man that killed his daughter was some random drug dealer, and he's dead, just to give him some peace of mind. Tom finds out that if he gets chickenpox, it could cause him to be sterile, and that's a big no for him.
God forbid something were to happen to either one of us. I want either one of us to have, options.
So you're saying that if I died, you would want a second wife and a family?
Maybe.
Bree ends up having dinner with Detective Barton, and it goes kind of interesting.
We have these new neighbors, the Applewhites. It's a mother and her son. They just moved here from Chicago. And they seem very nice, but there's something about them that's off. They're odd.
I can't run a background check on your neighbors for being odd.
Oh.
Is that why you want to see me? To ask me that?
Yeah. Why?
Well, just during the investigation, I just thought there was a kind of a spark between us. You know,
Please tell me you're joking. He gets over it though, and they're cool again until he notices that Bree's had too much to drink and doesn't want to let her drive home. She says she's fine and she's perfectly okay to drive home. But then he pulls her over because she was driving crazy and arrests her. Susan goes back to the hospital with a bunch of problems to get at that cute doctor.
Susan, how often have you been having these involuntary muscle spasms?
Not that often. I probably just need a good massage.
Susan.
Yeah.
I want to get you in for an MRI.
Oh. I respect the creativity a bit. Gabby tells Carlos about the pictures of her on the internet, and he's tired of her shenanigans. She tells him that it was her ex that posted them for revenge on leaving him, and Carlos should beat him up so they can get the pictures back. And Carlos is like, I just got out of jail and I found God, so I want no part. Lynette is still mad at Tom, so she tells him to get his thing snipped so he can't have any more kids even if he wanted to, and he says okay. Bree gets released from jail, but her car's been impounded and doesn't have any money to go get it. So she decides to walk home, and Betty finds her on the street and gives her a ride. It goes well until Betty says that Bree might have a tiny little drinking problem, and Bree goes off.
I'm sorry, but since when do you know so much about my personal life?
Bree, it's like you said. People on this street are not great at keeping secrets.
Except for you. You're really good at it.
I beg your pardon?
Well, you moved into your house in the middle of the night. God knows what you moved in that you didn't want anybody to see. People hear sounds coming at all hours from there. And what was the last one? Oh, right. They found a dead body in front of your home.
Now, why you gotta yell at Betty? That doctor comes by Susan's with her MRI test results, and he's very perplexed because he cannot figure out what is wrong with her.
It also could be based on an autoimmune disorder. I just, frankly, I'm stumped.
Oh, no.
Hey, listen, we're gonna get through this. Okay?
I'm so sorry, but I'm not sick.
What are you talking about?
Your nurse wouldn't let me see you, and I really wanted to see you, so I sort of faked all my symptoms. The dizziness, the chills, all of it.
Why would you do something like that? What the hell's wrong with you?
Turns out he actually likes her back, so they agree to go on a date. Gabby tells Carlos that if he really loved her, he would go beat up her ex like he used to, and he's like, okay, let me just talk to him first.
I really appreciate this, Scott.
Hey, no problem.
Tell you the truth, Gabrielle's pages weren't exactly raking in the big bucks for me.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm not saying Gabrielle's not a pretty girl. Of course she is, but she ain't exactly internet pretty, you know? If little Miss Nasty ain't rocking some curves.
My wife has a perfect figure.
Don't get me wrong, yeah. Our little Gabby knows how to work a runway, but when it comes to cyber loving, no real man's gonna waste tissue on that. There you go. That's all of them. So, we cool now?
Well, at least he did it for good reason. Tom comes back from the doctor and he did not get the procedure done because he doesn't feel like a real man anymore.
I don't make the money around here anymore. I don't provide for you and the kids, and I wasn't going to let them snip out the last thing that makes me a man.
Staying home and taking care of the kids doesn't make you less of a man. That's crazy.
You expect me to calm your irrational fears? I expect you to calm mine.
Detective Barton feels bad for arresting Bree, so he looks into that dead guy for her, and he leaves her a message saying he was a private detective that lost his license, and he's from Chicago. Bree finds this sus because she knows the Applewhites are also from Chicago. The episode ends with Felicia being Mr. Taylor's new nurse. While I do appreciate an outfit change, I wasn't expecting to do back-to-back off-the-shoulder looks, but I don't know. I kind of like it. Matthew let Caleb out of the basement and into the guest room because he doesn't want his brother to be held like a prisoner anymore. And Betty is over here like, are you dumb? Gabby and Carlos are at a church and Carlos is like, so when are we gonna have another go at a baby? And she's like, please. Bree comes into Danielle's room to do some laundry, but Danielle is a little busy.
Danielle, question. Is there a black man hiding under your bed?
That's an oddly specific question. Bree then takes Matthew back to Betty and she slaps him. Sister Mary is back from her relief trip and she's still trying to get at Carlos. He tells her that Gabby doesn't want to try to have any more kids, and Sister Mary is here like, well, maybe y'all should get an annulment. It's in God's plan. So turns out Susan needs surgery to realign her spleen, and her new doctor friend is the one that's gonna do the surgery. And she's not really with it because this would be his first spleen surgery and she's not trying to be the test dummy. Carlos talks to Gabby about having kids again, and when she's like, I don't know about that, he's like, well, then I have to consider my other options.
You are threatening me with an annulment? That conniving little bitch put you up to this, didn't she? Didn't she?
This fight could be over right now if you just make me a promise.
There's a new marketing position open at Lynette's company and Tom is real interested in it. But he's not good for the job because he kind of sucks at it, and Lynette's like, who's gonna tell him? He doesn't care what Lynette thinks and he comes in for the interview anyways. And Lynette is tired of Tom and his antics. Shockingly, the interview goes pretty well, but Lynette's not that happy about it. Gabby goes to confessional to talk to the Reverend about getting rid of Sister Mary, and she gets a little creative with her strategy.
Do you have reason to believe that your husband and Sister Mary are having sex? Speak from the heart, Gabrielle. This is just between me, you, and God.
Yeah. Yep, they're having sex. Carlos confessed everything.
Guys, it's fine. She repents like 5 seconds later. So now Sister Mary gets relocated. Danielle is mad at Bree for sending Matthew away, and she thinks Bree did it on purpose. Caleb tells Betty that he thinks Danielle is pretty, and she looks at him like, I'll lock your ass up again if you think about that girl. Susan tells her doctor friend that she doesn't want him to be her surgeon, and he gets mad about it all of a sudden, so he leaves. Lynette tells Tom that he got the job, but he needs to forgive her for killing his promotion, and he says he's been over it, so they're good now. Bree tries to fix things with Danielle by talking to Betty about the kids seeing each other, but she sees Caleb looking through the window, and she's like, yeah, never mind. Susan and her doctor friend make up, and he decides that he's not going to be her doctor or her surgeon anymore because it's kind of unethical. Danielle tells Matthew that she knows all about them hiding Caleb and she wants to help. Oh, so she's dumb. Oh, okay. She also tells him that she completely understands what they're going through because Bree literally protected Andrew after he ran over Juanita, and Matthew's like, That's interesting. Gabby goes to the church to talk to Sister Mary, all happy because she's moving. But Gabby forgot Sister Mary's from Chicago. On the plus side, it made Gabby realize she actually does want a baby with Carlos, so they're good now. Betty comes by Bree's to stop her from blabbing about Caleb in her house. And since she knows Bree's secret about Andrew, Bree keeps the info on Caleb all to herself. Bree attends a luncheon hosted by Maxine, played by the iconic Jane Lynch. I do think that Glee exists somewhere in the Desperate Housewives cinematic universe, and this is just what Sue Sylvester does in her free time. And I would be correct because Maxine gets arrested for keeping a foreigner hostage in her kitchen as her servant. I think this is very Glee season 1 coded. Go watch my ranking video of Glee songs. Self-promo? Yes, I am. Susan is freaking out because she doesn't have insurance to be able to pay for the surgery that she needs to have, and if she doesn't have it, she could die. And Edie suggests that she finds a man with a good insurance plan and marry him. The servant that Sue Sylvester was keeping, Xiao Mei, is now staying with Gabby and Carlos for a few days before she goes back to China. And Gabby has grown to like her a lot. Edie found a man willing to marry Susan for the week. They get to talking, and Susan feels a little weird about the whole thing because the only reason he wants to get married is because he's gay and he needs to get his inheritance from his old mother, and he can only get that if he's married to a woman. Felicia gives Mr. Taylor an anonymous note saying he has a grandchild. So now he knows that Mike has been keeping secrets from him. Bree is trying to get the scoop on the Applewhites, so she goes to her closet where she has keys to all the houses on the lane and grabs the one to their house. She goes inside the house with some homemade cobbler that she made when Matthew and Betty aren't home, and she ends up talking to Caleb.
Caleb, have you been down here all these months?
Yeah.
Did your mother make you wear those?
Most of the time.
I don't understand. Why in the world would your mother treat you that way?
I hurt a girl.
A girl?
Yeah. And then she died.
So Bree's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Susan and the gay guy don't get married because his boyfriend gets all butthurt about it, so they cancel the whole thing. So Susan is here like, well, damn, then what am I supposed to do now? Carl then offers to marry her, and she says okay, but they decide that they shouldn't tell Edie about it. Xiao Mei is about to get sent back to China, but she doesn't want to leave because she really likes working for Gabby.
你替我非常好，我们两个人好像是一家人。
She says Mrs. Solis treated her with more kindness than she's ever known. She now thinks of you two as family.
Oh, really? Oh, of course you can stay. Oh.
Gabby.
Carlos, she thinks of us as family.
Mike tells Mr. Taylor that Zach is his grandson, and Mr. Taylor tells him he has 48 hours to bring Zach or he'll pay someone to come get him. Betty comes by to yell at Bree for talking to Caleb, and Bree's like, you're not threatening me anymore. I know your secret. So Betty's like, fine, I'll tell you everything. So Melanie was Matthew's girlfriend, and they were on and off like all the time. And like Ariana Grande said, I like to f with you just to make up with you. And Betty tells Bree what happened to her.
Caleb somehow convinced Melanie to meet him down at our local lumber yard. I can only imagine that she thought he was bringing some kind of apology from Matthew, but he wasn't. Caleb told Melanie he was in love with her, and that if he was her boyfriend, he would never break up with her. And she laughed in his face. He tried to show her he was serious by kissing her. She hit him. He doesn't remember a lot of what happened after that, but he does know that he got very, very angry. And that there was an axe lying on the ground nearby him.
So now they're kind of friends. Bree Bree is still really going through it, from Rex passing to George being a psycho killer, and she's dealing with all of it by drinking a lot more than usual. So when she takes a cab home from dinner, she ends up passing out on her lawn because she got so drunk. Miss McCluskey finds her and tells Andrew about it, and the only thing he thinks of to do is to wake her up by turning on the sprinklers. It's Valentine's Day yet again, and everyone has their own little plans for how they want to celebrate it. Tom asks Miss McCluskey if she can come and babysit the kids, and Lynette doesn't want her to do that because she's old and brittle. And Miss McCluskey hears the whole conversation, so now her and Lynette got beef again. Gabby's mom comes to visit, and Gabby is not happy about it. Gabby ran away from home when she was like 15, and her relationship with her mom hasn't been good since then. Zach is starting to ask a lot of questions about his birth parents, and Paul is tired of him wanting to know where he came from.
Well, she was attractive, as I recall.
Do I look like her?
I don't know. I only met her once.
Oh. Well, because if I don't look like her, then I might look like my real dad.
I'm getting real tired of your morbid fascination with two strangers that didn't love you enough to keep you.
A detective that's working for Mr. Taylor tells him the whole story of Paul, Mary Alice, and his daughter, and that Paul is still alive. So Mr. Taylor tells him to get rid of Paul, and Felicia hears the whole conversation. Edie looks through the house and finds a ring and a prenup in Carl's files. So now she thinks he's gonna propose. Lynette asks Bree to watch her kids since she didn't want Miss McCluskey to, and Bree has some wine to get herself through it. Gabby and Carlos go to the doctor to see if it's possible for them to have another baby, but the doctor tells them that because of Gabby's little fall down the stairs, that might not be possible. Gabby says it's not that big of a deal. They can just do adoption or surrogacy, and Carlos doesn't want to do either because he doesn't want to do adoption and he doesn't want a stranger to carry their child. So Gabby's mom offers to carry it for them, and Gabby's not with it. Bree passes out while watching the boys and Penny, so they take her and stroll down the streets. Bree then wakes up and is just like, oh no, the children are gone. The boys are okay, they just walked to the nearest nail salon. Gabby drops her mom off at the nearest hotel and tells her to get lost and leave her alone forever. Lynette and Tom find the kids at the salon and bring them home, and when Bree goes to talk to Lynette about it, shockingly, Lynette's not all that mad.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I was in the kitchen cleaning up after making cookies, and I looked in the living room and they were gone.
We tried to tell her we were going, but she was asleep.
You were sleeping?
I most certainly was not.
Yes, you were.
Okay, all right. That lie just lost you another week of TV and video game privileges. That's 2. You want to keep talking and lose more? Then apologize to Mrs. Vandekamp.
Sorry.
Carlos tells Gabby that kicking her mom out was mean, and Gabby's like, I don't hear anyone else complaining about it. He tells her that she should let go of all the anger she has for her, and Gabby's not ready to do that yet.
Did you ever think to talk to her about the stuff that happened between you and your stepdad?
It wouldn't have done any good.
How do you know that?
Because she knew exactly what was going on with Alejandro, and she chose to look the other way.
But you never even gave her a chance to step up. You just ran away from home.
Because if I did, then she would... Because there was a chance she wouldn't have believed me, and that would have hurt a lot worse than anything he ever did to me.
Mike visits Paul and tells him that Mr. Taylor is looking for Zach, so they need to get out of town, like now. And Paul is like, if we leave, you're never gonna see your son again. And of course, Zach hears the whole conversation. At their V-Day dinner, Edie and Susan are at a restaurant with their men, and Edie pulls Susan to the bathroom to tell her that Carl is proposing. And Susan's like, I don't know about that. Edie tells her that she needs to get up and stop being so butthurt that Carl doesn't want her anymore, so she leaves to go get herself that ring.
What the hell are you doing?
I thought you said this dessert was special.
When you put it in your mouth and eat it, what is wrong with you?
Well, nothing.
Carlos goes to the hotel where Gabby's mom is to drop off her bags, and he really wants her to be the surrogate, and he knows the only way that's gonna happen is if Gabby forgives her. So he decides to tell Gabby's mom what happened with Gabby way back then.
A lot of stuff that Gabby went through when she was younger. A lot of stuff that you don't know about. And I think that if you went to her and asked her about it, then the two of you could finally get past it. Your second husband, Alejandro? When Gabby was 15, he assaulted her sexually?
Is that what she told you?
Look, I know that it comes as a shock for you to be hearing it from me.
Carlos, please, I am aware they had sex. But it was Gabriela who seduced him.
Excuse me?
Some people clearly shouldn't have children. Carlos then goes back to Gabby and says he's cool with adoption. Susan goes to Carl to tell him that Edie thinks he's proposing, so they should just call off the whole getting married thing. And he's like, I have another idea.
Then I'll propose to her.
Well, that's a little extreme.
Really? I was probably going to do it eventually anyhow. And obviously, we're going to have to get a divorce before I can actually marry her, but...
Miss McCluskey feels some type of way about Lynette choosing Bree over her for babysitting when Bree was literally drinking on the job, and Lynette doesn't believe her. So Lynette goes to talk to Bree about it because now she's thinking, the math isn't quite mathing.
Were you drinking while babysitting my kids?
No. Oh, you know, I may have had just the tiniest little bit of Chardonnay.
Oh, gosh, you got drunk and you passed out.
Lynette, if I close my eyes even for a moment, it's because of these antihistamines I've been taking.
Really? Is that why you passed out on your front lawn yesterday morning?
Lynette then goes to her trash can and finds a lot of empty bottles in there. Carl and Susan have their quickie wedding, and Lynette puts all the wine bottles in front of Bree's house. Well, that's a way to do an intervention. The detective working for Mr. Taylor comes by to take Paul away for questioning. He says that Paul is linked to some credit card fraud, so the police need to go and talk to him. At that moment, Felicia then shows up to come back home. Paul gets taken into a van in handcuffs and gets jumped by some prisoners. Whether the prisoners are real, I'm not sure. Lynette is telling the girls before she goes to work about Bree's little drinking problem and that she lost her kids. Bree sees all of them talking and decides to clear her name.
What happened was I accidentally mixed my antihistamine medication with, a little glass of wine I was having, and I fell asleep, while I was watching her kids. I mean, I like a little wine with dinner. I mean, now and then, who doesn't?
Tom and Lynette are having a bit of a difficult time working together since she's his boss. He goes to talk to Lynette about it, and she's like, well, did I lie?
I like my idea, but you can't say I didn't work hard.
Please, I live with you. Last night when you should have been trying to make that pitch work, you were watching the game.
I wasn't watching the game.
I saw you.
What? Okay, now I can't check the score?
Are you saying you gave your heart and soul to that Eskimo pitch?
I worked really hard on that pitch.
Did you give it 100%?
Andrew asks Bree for a car, and she's like, no, go get a job. And he's like, I literally have a trust fund, just give it to me. Bree says no again because he can't access it till he's 21, and now he's very annoyed.
On second thought, I won't be driving you to school. The walk will do you good.
Mom, I'm not kidding around. I want my money.
The answer is no.
Well, aren't we a mean old drunk?
This is like the 50th slap of the season. Susan is getting ready for her operation, and Dr. Ron, who's now her boyfriend, is going to do the operation because the other doctor can't anymore. He also gives her flowers and a nice little handwritten note. Carl reads the note and is teasing Susan about it because he's a loser. And on his way out of the room, he says something stupid to the nurse that also happens to be Dr. Ron's friend.
Not funny.
Watch out for my wife. She's on a tear.
Carlos and Gabby are trying to adopt, so they're putting together a little parent portfolio to show what amazing people they are. But They have no proof of them being good people. So they ask Lynette if she can help with the portfolio since she's in advertising and whatnot, and she says okay. Zach is still wondering where his dad is because he still hasn't come home, and he's calling the police asking, where is my father? And Felicia tells Mike that Paul isn't coming back. So Mike calls up Mr. Taylor and is like, you idiot, if you killed Paul, Zach is never gonna forgive you. Tom decides to be a little petty to Lynette for her little comments at work, and he brings it to the home.
So, honey, the meatloaf, it's a little burnt.
Oh, right. I was talking to Susan on the phone, and I left it in a little longer than I should have. Sorry.
It's okay.
Is it that bad?
No, not bad at all.
Oh, good.
But you'd agree it wasn't your best effort.
Huh?
The meal, the task you agreed to take on, you'd agree that you didn't give it 100%, right?
So she apologizes for embarrassing him at work. They then go upstairs to have a little quickie session, and Tom gets mad at her all over again for being dominant.
Not just my boss at the office. You're my boss everywhere.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
You run the show. You run the show, and I'm along for the ride. I just push the little shopping cart. Let the woman do all the driving.
Tom.
I'm the caddy husband. I carry your clubs.
I am so sorry you feel that way, but you cannot put that on me. This is your life. You want to run it? Then step on up.
Tom needs to get up. That nurse tells Susan that she knows she's married and she's gonna tell Dr. Ron. And Susan's like, no, you don't get it. I had to get married. Andrew pays Justin to punch him a couple of times while wearing a ring. So he then calls a lawyer and accuses Bree of hitting him. And Bree's like, okay, I slapped him, but who doesn't slap their children? And Andrew's like, right. I want to be emancipated.
As an emancipated minor, Andrew would be able to live on his own. He'd still go to school, of course, but he'd be released from all adult supervision.
Well, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard of. How would he support himself?
Well, he'd be in complete control of his own finances.
So that's what this is about, your trust fund.
Carlos and Gabby go to their adoption appointment, and guess who sees them there? John's mom. You can't make this kind of timing up. So she runs on in and she stops the whole thing.
Helen, you work here?
You all know each other? What a small world.
It sure is. Mrs. Solis hired my son to do her yard work. And also, she would him.
Okay, first of all, it was statutory, and it happened so long ago.
Was it? I think it was only about a year ago. No, it was a year because it was right before your husband went to prison on slave labor charges.
Paul finally comes back from the police and Felicia is shocked. Mike tells Paul that they need to give Mr. Taylor what he wants, which is Zach, and Zach says he's down. Tom says he'll step up more, so him and Lynette make up and they're good now. Carlos and Gabby aren't giving up on baby hunting, so they pay an underground lawyer to find a baby for them. Zach meets with Mr. Taylor and tells him that if he wants to keep seeing him, he needs to leave Paul alone, and Mr. Taylor says okay. Susan isn't really feeling Dr. Ron all that much anymore, especially after reading his little love letter, but she doesn't want to tell him about it, so right before she goes into surgery and she's all loopy on drugs, it comes out anyways.
I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love Mike.
Mike? Susan, who's Mike?
Mike is love.
Who the hell is Mike?
I don't know, but she's married to a guy named Carl.
Bree is not going to be outsmarted by Andrew, so she's going to start going to Alcoholics Anonymous to prove to the judge that she's not actually an alcoholic. Andrew just wants her to let him leave, and she's like, no, you're a terrible person and I need to fix you. Gabby and Carlos are able to find a woman to give up her baby, but they don't want hers because they think she's too ugly. So, on to the next one. Dr. Ron asks Susan who the hell Mike is, and she's like, I don't know a Mike. He's like, okay, cool. How's your husband? And she's like, oh, that? I just needed his insurance. You can come by and meet him so you can see that there's nothing going on with us. Bree has been going to her AA meetings, but she tells the guy running it that she's not actually an alcoholic. She's just trying to stop her son from getting emancipated, that's all. And the guy's like, right. take my card just in case. Lynette is trying to recruit a lady named Veronica to join the team, and she says yes, just as long as she can breastfeed her son at work. And Lynette says that ain't no problem. Gabby and Carlos find another pregnant girl, Libby, who's a stripper, and they absolutely love her. She says she has absolutely no idea who the father is, and they're cool with it, but then something interesting happens.
It's really nice to meet you, Mr. and Mrs. Solis.
Oh, it's actually pronounced Solis.
Sorry. So what kind of name is that?
It's Mexican. Both our families come from Guadalajara.
Huh. I figured you were Italian.
No, Latino. Proud of it.
Good for you.
Veronica brings her son to work to feed him, and he's a little older than everyone thought he was. So Ed, Lynette's boss, tells her that she needs to talk to Veronica, since she's a woman, about feeding her overgrown son in the office. So Lynette talks to her about it, and Veronica clears her.
Did you also know that breast milk is thought to raise IQ scores? Yeah.
Gabby and Carlos find out that Libby doesn't want them anymore as the parents since they're Mexican, and Gabby's gonna get that baby. Carl has dinner with Susan and Ron, and everything is going well until he sees them kissing and gets a little jealous. Mike then comes home, so he messes with the pipes and tells Dr. Ron to get Mike to come over and help. They get to talking, and Mike tells Ron that him and Susan used to date, and Ron goes off.
I can't believe I wasted my time with you. You've just been leading me on. You're obviously still in love with this guy. All right, I'm done.
No, Ron, don't go.
Don't call me.
Oh, Ron.
Gabby goes to the club to tell Libby, yeah, we're Mexican, but we're also rich, so give us your baby.
You never gave a crap that we were Mexican, did you?
Not really.
So why put me through this?
Because I thought if it looked like you weren't gonna get my baby, that you might be just a bit more generous.
Lynette feeds Veronica's son some chocolate milk because he was a little thirsty. Bree runs into Andrew at the mall, and she notices that he stole her credit card, and when she tries to get it back, he starts acting evil.
You know, it's funny. The angrier I get, the more of these repressed memories start to come up.
You can't be serious.
Touching me in places he shouldn't have.
No one is ever gonna believe a word of that.
Yeah, well, you know how people are. They might say that they believe you, but they'll always wonder.
So Bree then has another glass of wine because of it. She also somehow passes out in the middle of the mall after it's closed, so she calls the guy from her AA meeting to come help her. And after talking with him, she realizes she actually does have a problem. Turns out it's Danielle's birthday, so after a fun night out with some friends, she comes back home and finds Caleb there with a gift for her. And she's like, I don't think so. You need to go. Veronica is very upset that her son won't take her breast milk anymore.
I keep them young as long as we can, but kids grow up. They just do.
I know. If that's not bad enough, now I'm gonna get fat again.
And the episode ends with Libby being all coupled up with her boyfriend. Bree has been spending a lot of time with her sponsor Peter, and she's actually getting better, and she also kind of likes him. He says that they can't date because in addition to him being an AA, he's also a addict. And she kisses him, but before it goes any further, he runs out the door. Carlos and Gabby go to the club to give Libby yet another gift, but she is not happy about them just showing up at her place of work.
That you didn't want us coming by your house.
Thanks, but I'm working, so you gotta go.
Look, we spent a lot of money on that. The least you can do is open it so we can bask in your happy expression.
Is there a problem here?
No, we're just talking. Everything's fine.
Carlos Solis, my wife Gabrielle. We're friends of Libby's.
Oh, hey, I'm Frank, Libby's boyfriend.
Huh. Libby, you didn't tell us you had a boyfriend.
Didn't I? I thought I had.
What's that? A present for our baby?
Andrew's lawyer gives Bree a deposition list of people the judge is going to ask about Bree's character, and Lynette's on that list. So Bree goes to talk to Lynette and is like, sorry I kind of got drunk while watching your kids, but I'm actually getting better, so we're good now, right? And Lynette forgives her, so Bree tells her about the deposition.
Andrew is making accusations. False accusations saying that I abused him. All because I wouldn't let him have his trust fund early so he could buy a car. I mean, can you blame me for wanting to know if I have your support?
So, what? You want me to lie? Make you look good?
Carlos is determined to get Libby's baby by any means necessary, so he says they should pay the baby's father off. Edie tells Susan and Julie that she's throwing a surprise engagement party turned to an even more surprised wedding for Carl, and they can't say anything to him. And Susan feels some type of way about it. Andrew's lawyer goes to Lynette to ask her about Bree, and when she says she doesn't want to talk about her, he shows her a picture of a beaten up Andrew. So now Lynette is confused and she doesn't know who to believe anymore. Carlos and Gabby bribe Libby and her boyfriend with money to take their baby, and he doesn't want to take it because now he wants the baby and Libby's not about to let him ruin it.
It doesn't matter what he wants.
Why not?
Because it's not your baby.
That's a lie.
What if I take a paternity test? Will that shut you up?
Wait, if it's not Frank's, then whose is it?
I'm not sure. All I know is I got pregnant right after I worked at the Calgary Rodeo, and I was very popular there.
Susan tells Carl about Edie's secret wedding, and Julie sees the two of them talking, and she's just tired of them at this point. Carl and Susan then come up with a plan to stall Edie's wedding, so she sees them talking on the porch and tells them to come inside. She's got a little surprise.
Well, I should go. I'm not gonna scream or cry or pound your faces in with a mallet, which Lord knows is my right. But what I will say is that you two are the most reprehensible excuses for human beings that I have ever met. Do you have anything to add? Right. What the hell?
It's what they deserve. Edie then tells them she knows about the two of them being married and she doesn't appreciate being lied to. So she tells Carl she wants a very expensive wedding to make up for it, and Susan is gonna bartend at her engagement party. Lynette talks to Andrew to show support for him since Bree has been hurting him by saying like he should take her car for a little ride, and he's like, oh, say less.
It's hard for me to imagine the Bree I know capable of hurting you.
Do you have the keys?
So at the deposition, Lynette whacks Andrew for being the little sociopath he is.
Do you consider Mrs. Van de Kamp to have a drinking problem?
No.
Then why did you line empty wine bottles up on her front stoop?
I was helping Bree with her recycling.
Do I need to remind you of the potential consequences of perjury?
No, you don't. In fact, I hate liars.
At Edie's engagement party, Julie finds a picture of Susan and Carl in his journal. So Susan goes to confront him about it, and he does something stupid.
Oh, no. This is not happening.
Oh, Carl. Oh, are you crazy?
Just tell me what to do, Susie. You want me to marry Edie, I will. You want me to call off the wedding, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. I'm putty.
Carl!
Bree gets drunk at a bar and calls Peter so he can come rescue her and be her sponsor again. Libby gives birth to the baby, and Gabby and Carlos are all ready to take her home from the hospital, but her boyfriend comes in all drunk asking who the father is. And Libby says the father is his younger brother. So now Gabby's like, yeah, I'm still gonna take this baby. Gabby and Carlos go to court and are given temporary custody of Lily since the birth father is a high school student and doesn't want her. Susan goes to confront Carl about his little kiss, and he's like, well, I can call off this wedding with Edie right now. You just need to tell me. Felicia is tired of everyone being okay with Paul being on the lane as if he's not a criminal, so she tries to get rid of him.
I'm going to the drugstore. I'll be back in 20 minutes.
Paul? I was making cookies and I heard the most sickening thud. Are you okay?
There's shortening on my doorstep.
Shortening? That's the last thing you'd want on your front porch. It's meant for baking.
Carlos and Gabby are fighting because they have very different ideas on how to raise Lily, i.e. Gabby wants a nanny.
What is all this crap about me not getting help?
Look, a brand new baby needs to bond with its mother. The church knows it, science knows it, nature knows it.
We have the money. What is wrong with getting a little help? Then I'll be able to relax once in a while and I'll be able to be a better mother.
You want to be a better mother? Do what my mama did. Make sacrifices. My mama worked her fingers to the bone for me.
So you want her to be exhausted all the time. Oh, okay. Bree's dad comes by to visit to stop this whole court thing from happening, but it doesn't really help because Andrew and Bree pretty much hate each other at this point. So now Bree's parents want to take Andrew back with them to Rhode Island. Susan goes to the movies, and while she's there, she sees Mike on a date. So she sits next to a random man to pretend she's on a date with him. Mike sees them together and is like, hey, who's this?
Oh, God, I'm being so rude. Mike, I want you to meet...
Orson Hodge. Nice to meet you, Mike. So, how'd you two meet? Oh, God, I've been a dentist for years. But last week, I was looking in her mouth and decided to stick my tongue in it.
Felicia's shenanigans continue when she tries to burn Paul alive by switching out his lighter fluid for gasoline. She clearly listens to Ariana Grande's Sweetener because she took You Can Get Blazed seriously. Lily keeps crying in the middle of the night and Carlos doesn't want to deal with her and neither does Gabby. So she starts having Xiaomei care for her without Carlos knowing. But she gives her a gift card to the spa for all her hard work. Justin finds out that Andrew is moving and he's very mad about it.
Andrew just told me he's moving in with his grandparents. He lives so far away, I'm never gonna see him anymore.
I'm so sorry. I know that you're good friends.
We're more than friends, Mrs. Vandekamp. I love him.
Oh. Why?
This is a very valid question. Bree then convinces Justin to help her with a plan on keeping Andrew here, and he says okay. Orson comes by Susan's to return her wallet, and she tells him all the tea on her dating life, so they kind of become friends. She tells him that she kind of likes Carl again, and he tells her she needs to get up. Gabby and Bree are at lunch, and Bree tells her that she saw Xiaomei at the spa earlier, and Gabby's like, no, she's at home with Lily. And Bree's like, Miss Girl, I just got a massage 20 minutes ago. That was her. So Gabby rushes home to take care of Lily, and she really likes doing it now. Felicia strikes yet again, but this time in a very creative way.
For God's sakes.
What the hell are you doing in there? This is my house. What are you doing?
We're tenting for termites. We got a work order.
Signed by who?
Ah, I've never been so embarrassed in my whole life. They're supposed to be tenting my house. I must have written the address down wrong.
You've taken it too far this time. These little mind games are gonna stop. Right now.
And if they don't, what you gonna do? Blow out your brains like your wife did.
Susan tells Carl that he's a loser and needs to just marry Edie, so he later comes back to her and says he called off the wedding.
You were right. I have been a coward. I was a coward 3 years ago when I walked out on the two most important people in my life. And I was being a coward with Edie. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know.
Carl, you look pretty beat up.
Why don't you come in and we'll crack open a bottle of wine. Come on.
I'm not gonna say anything anymore. Bree packs up all of Andrew's things ready to go so he can leave with her parents, and she gives him some of Andrew's magazines. And Bree's parents see that they're gay magazines, and they're not trying to deal with all that, so they leave without him, and they take away his trust fund. Susan and Carl ended up sleeping together, but then Edie calls him because she needs some juice, and oops, turns out they never broke up. On the plus side, Bree seems cool with Justin and Andrew hanging out now. Carl leaves Edie a breakup note because he's too much of a coward to break up with her himself and tries to flee before she wakes up, but Edie doesn't play like that.
What's going on? Is there someone else? Oh my God.
crap.
Come on.
Peter and Bree have been getting on really well, and right before they kiss, his sex addiction sponsor pops up and is like, keep your hands to yourself, buddy. So now Peter and Bree can't hang out anymore. Edie tells the girls that Carl broke up with her, and they're now all going in on the woman that took her man. If it were anyone else, I would say put all the blame on him, but since it's Susan, I'm not mad at woman shaming. Lily's birth father, Dale, shows up out of nowhere, and he wants his baby back.
Listen, Mr. Solis.
No, you listen. We were granted custody. If you want her, you talk to the judge.
What is the holdup? They told me I gotta talk to a judge.
What the hell are you doing here, Frank?
It's his baby. Give it to him.
Like hell.
Hey, Mrs. Solis, can I see the baby?
No.
Oh, Dale, just do it already. I'm not just gonna kidnap it. Why not? They did. It is your baby. Just take it.
Try it.
Betty finally sells the house, and Danielle is pissed because now Matthew is moving away, and she's like, we need to come up with a solution here, and Matthew says he'll come up with something. Bree tries to talk to Peter's sponsor about them being friends, and he looks at her like she's the dumbest person alive.
You done here, princess?
Not yet. You obviously have an encyclopedic grasp of everything depraved, but clearly you don't have the slightest idea about the power of a loving relationship.
This is all you are to Peter. Something to satisfy his addiction.
Well, I think Peter is a better man than you do, and I am not going to let you keep us apart.
Try and stop me. Peter does everything I tell him to do. That's the one thing you can depend on with addicts. They're weak.
Some guy then comes in and gives him some drugs because I guess he's also a cocaine sponsor, and he tells the guy he's a loser and to go to a meeting right around the block. Some police officers come into the shop, and Bree gets him arrested for drug possession to take him out of the picture. And with him gone, Bree offers to be Peter's new addiction sponsor, and he says yes because he doesn't have anyone else. Matthew has the bright idea to tell Caleb that he should say goodbye to Danielle because she's really gonna miss him. Your siblings can sometimes be your true enemies. Gabby goes to Dale's school to convince him to give up custody, and he spills on why he really wants Lily back.
These are your glory days. A baby would ruin your life.
No, I know, but Frank said once I get the baby, he's gonna take it off my hands.
That is not even his.
Libby dumped him. He thinks that if he has the baby and she sees him acting all mature, she'll take him back.
But when has Gabby ever not gotten what she wanted? She's leaving here with something.
Because you boys live clean. You keep your noses up, you stay out of trouble, and you don't go around getting strippers pregnant. And that's a good thing, because if one of you caused a scandal like that, not only would that guy get kicked off the team and lose all of his scholarships, but God would drop your school colors so fast it'd make your head spin.
Ed is having intimacy issues with his wife and asks Lynette for help since her and Tom are always getting it on. She tells him to try sending dirty messages to his wife, but he's terrible at it, so he has Lynette do it, and it ends up backfiring.
Why would you tell my wife to bite my nipple off?
I didn't. Why would she? Oh, the honeymoon thing.
Yeah, and it hurt like hell then, too. It didn't take her long to figure out that I let a stranger seduce her online.
Oh, God.
She was so mad she locked herself in the bathroom and called a divorce lawyer.
You're getting divorced?
I spent 2 hours pleading with her through the bathroom door, begging her not to leave me. And we finally managed to come to terms.
What kind of terms?
I promised her I would fire the person who did it.
He's obviously not going to fire Lynette, so he's going to fire Tom. Peter calls Bree because he somehow winded up at a swingers party, but he only did it to try to push her away. And Bree tells him as long as he's honest with her, she's cool with whatever weird stuff he gets into. Edie hires a private investigator to see who Carl was cheating on her with. So my camera malfunctioned or something while I was filming. So I'm missing some parts of the video, and frankly, I don't feel like setting up the lights or the camera. It's a lot of work. So for the next couple of minutes, enjoy me on my computer cam. Caleb goes to Danielle to do what Matthew literally told him to, but luckily, Bree gets there quickly.
Get away from her. Danielle, I want you to pick up the phone and call the police.
No!
What?
Matthew and his mother have been protecting Caleb. They're in as much trouble as he is.
I don't care.
Mom, please, I love him.
Can we please make good decisions for once? I'm tired. Bree then goes to Betty and tells him that Caleb needs to get the boot like now, and if he doesn't go, she's calling the police. But it turns out all of this was a plan by Matthew and Danielle. That's just diabolical behavior. Betty says that she's not going to send him to a mental hospital because they would just treat him terribly, so instead, she has another plan.
Phenobarbital?
It's easy. It's painless. It's just a few extra drops. He simply falls asleep. Caleb was meant for a better world than this, Matthew. It's time to give your brother the peace he deserves.
Why is he acting like he cares as if he didn't set his own brother up? Lily decides all of a sudden she wants her baby back, so the police come and take Lily. And Gabby is tired of the people playing in her face.
Carlos! No! Carlos, what's happening? No, ma'am, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is our baby! No, we've been feeding her, and we've been bathing her, and we wake up in the middle of the night and we rock her. You can't take her away. It's too late. We've already fallen in love with her.
Betty is telling Matthew about her plan to put Caleb to sleep for good, but she feels really terrible about it. Carlos and Gabby are still pretty depressed about Lily being gone, especially Xiaomei. Turns out the only reason Xiaomei's actually sad is because she's being deported all of a sudden, and Gabby's not about to let that happen. Lynette tells Tom about Ed's plan to fire him for no good reason, so Lynette tells him to get his act together so Ed can't find a reason to fire him. Bree and Andrew have been getting along great. She even invites Justin to the little dinner that she's hosting to have the kids meet Peter. And Danielle asks if Matthew can come, and Bree's like, don't piss me off. Mike finds out from the private investigator that Susan and Carl slept together, and now he wants nothing to do with her. And while she's very sad about it, she has no time for that. She needs to stop that PI from blabbing to Edie.
Okay, you cannot tell Edie about this. Whatever she's paying you, I'll pay you double.
She paid a $2,000 retainer plus expenses.
$2,000? Jeez, I gotta get into real estate. Okay, I don't have that kind of cash.
Well, then I guess I take the tape to Miss Britt. I have a copy.
He tells her she has until Monday to give him the cash, or he's gonna give the tape of her and Carl to Edie. Okay, all done. Not a professional, Aisha. Carlos and Gabby talked to Ice about Xiaomei staying, and they were able to find a loophole. She needs to have their baby. And she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Andrew is still putting together his little plan on ruining Bree's life, and he gets some key information needed for it.
They're just getting to know you, and so I want them to focus on your good qualities. Just don't know how they'll react if they find out that you're a sex addict.
What are you so happy about?
You know how you were mad at Mom about not letting Matthew come to dinner?
Yeah?
I just figured out the funniest way for you to get back at her.
Ed is trying to do everything in his power to get Tom fired by checking the forensics accounts for any discrepancies, and Lynette says she's gonna quit if Tom gets fired. And Tom's like, okay, let me talk to him first, and if he doesn't budge, then we'll let you do your thing.
Oh my God! Oh my God! What happened?
I think I gave him just cause.
Susan knows she's too broke to pay the PI, so she mails a letter to Edie so she can hear the news from her first. Betty's about to finish the job on Caleb when she finds out what little Matthew has been up to.
Is he mad at me? Because of Danielle?
No. He knows that you didn't mean to scare her.
Because he said it was okay for me to kiss her.
What did you say?
He said Danielle liked me.
and that she wouldn't fight me if I gave her a kiss.
Xiaomei says that she doesn't want to have their baby because she's a virgin, and if she has their baby, no man is ever going to want her. And Gabby's like, who told you that? Lynette is going off on Ed for whatever he said to Tom and calls him a scared little man, and he's like, Miss Girl, I have some news for you.
You know what? Here. The forensic accountant found some interesting stuff in Tom's expense reports. Yeah, it seems on his last 3 trips east, he cashed in his first-class ticket and took a detour to Atlantic City.
What? That can't be right.
What's all there? Hotels, bar tabs. Oh, and on this page, 2 tickets to a show. And flowers.
Bree and everyone are waiting for Danielle to come to the dinner table, and turns out she was late because she's dressed all scandalously to try and seduce Peter, and she starts getting a little too handsy with him, so he freaks out and he leaves. Because Matthew tried to frame his brother, Betty locks him in the basement room. Gabby and Carlos are getting ready to go to the fertility clinic, and Xiaomei thinks to have their baby she needs to do the deed, and she's prepared. Andrew tells Danielle to seal the deal by sleeping with Peter, and she's like, no, I have standards. Peter comes by to give Andrew some college catalogs and also to apologize for running out on dinner. And Andrew's like, oh, it's all good. We know all about your little addiction. So tell me, what kind of stuff were you into?
I want to talk about that.
Well, I just want to make sure you're not into anything too freaky. You know, I mean, you are dating my mom, and I'm kind of protective of her.
All I can say is I went through a dark period and I slept with a whole lot of people.
People?
What's wrong?
No, it's just that when most guys discuss their conquests, they don't say people.
Oh, well...
No, it's okay. I appreciate the fact that you value diversity.
Mike tells Susan that she's clear from Edie because he ended up paying the PI off. And she's like, oh, great. Let me go get back my letter. She sees the mailman delivering all the mail on the street, and she decides to invite him in for some iced tea.
Oh, no, I couldn't. This is my 3rd glass. Seriously, I'm sloshing.
Well, you probably want to use the bathroom before you leave, huh?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure? I mean, you have such a long route, and that iced tea's gonna go right through you. It's better here than Mrs. McCloskey's hydrangeas.
Well, you know, maybe I will use your bathroom.
Great! Oh, the one down here is broken. Why don't you use the one upstairs? It's right off my bedroom.
She succeeds because she gets that letter back and puts it in her pile of mail. The mailman is taking his sweet old time coming back down, and when she goes upstairs, she catches him waiting for her so they can get it on. Luckily, Julie comes home and she says, oh, let's just do it some other time. She sees the letter addressed to Edie and puts it in the mailman's bag. I'd be lying if I said I didn't love this kind of timing. Bree comes home from a long day and finds Andrew in her bed after sleeping with Peter. And Bree is tired, so the next day she says they're gonna go on a little college road trip, but really she has other plans.
What are you doing?
Packed up some of your things. There's also an envelope in here with some money, and that should tide you over until you get a job.
What, you're gonna leave me out here in the middle of nowhere?
I noticed a bus stop about a mile back. You can go anywhere you want.
Mom, please don't do this.
I have to. I can't be around you anymore. I'm just not strong enough.
So she leaves him there and doesn't look back. Susan comes by to Mike's with a "thank you for saving me from getting my ass beat by Edie" pie. And while they're talking, Edie finds the letter from Susan and she's pissed. So she puts gasoline all over Susan's house and lights a match. I'm not mad at it. Susan and Mike talk about their feelings and whatnot and decide to put everything in the past.
Asking for us to get back together. I just want us to be friends.
Susan.
Yes.
Your house is on fire.
My whole house is on fire!
When the truth is ugly, people try to keep it hidden.
I say this is payback for burning her house down and for being an annoying presence every single day. Susan and the girls are cleaning up the rubble from her house when an insurance agent comes by and says the money is gonna take a while because the police think the fire was arson. And it takes her about 5 seconds to realize it was probably Edie. On the plus side, Bree offers for her and Julie to stay with her. Felicia sneaks into Paul's house while Zach takes out the trash and takes one of their house keys. Susan asks Edie if she burned her house down, and Edie's like, well, yes. Susan says she's gonna tell the police, and Edie's like, with what proof, ma'am? Carlos and Gabby find out that Xiaomei is pregnant, and they're very happy. Danielle is perfectly fine since Andrew leaving, and she even wants his room. But she is a little annoyed because her birthday was like 6 weeks ago, and Bree completely forgot about it, so now Bree feels a little bad. Since Tom got fired, he needs to go to Atlantic City all of a sudden, and Lynette feels some type of way about it because she knows about his little trips within his business trips. And he's like, babe, I was literally going on business. This guy wants to give me a really good job at his firm. And Lynette kind of believes him, but she still thinks he's acting a little suspicious. Gabby is not adjusting to Xiaomei being pregnant because her morning sickness is becoming a real nuisance.
Forgot to tell you, you can't use that stuff anymore. It really triggers Xiaomei's morning sickness.
All of it? Even my hair pomade?
Gives me stomachache.
Yeah, well, it gives me volume, so I guess we both can have a problem.
Matthew was still locked in the basement without any food, water, or entertainment, and at this point, he'll do anything to get out. And Betty's like, that's a sad story, but I'm not letting you out. Susan asks Mike for help wiring herself so she can tape Edie confessing to burning her house down. He also says that if she needs a place to stay, she can move in with him. Lynette is onto Tom because she knows he's lying, so she books a flight to Atlantic City to spy on him. Danielle is having her belated 17th birthday party, and Bree wants to make sure everything is perfect. She brings out the cake for everyone to sing happy birthday to Danielle, but it doesn't go that well.
That is some serious frosting.
Alrighty.
So now Bree is like, I'm not afraid to fight a kid. Danielle has had enough, so she goes to try to find Matthew and finds out that he's been locked in the basement and tries to get him out. Susan hears about Bree's not so little meltdown, and she tells her that maybe she should get some help or at least get some sleep, and Bree's like, I can't. So she tells her what's been going on.
Andrew, didn't run away. I, dropped him off in the middle of nowhere. Told him that I couldn't be around him anymore, and then I drove off. So I just need a little time to forget what I've done, and then I can sleep again.
Lynette finds Tom at a hotel waiting for his rental car from valet, and when he gets inside, she follows him. Felicia puts her get rid of Paul plan in motion by calling 911, saying that Paul's been threatening her, and she's scared. The operator says they can't do anything about that, and she's like, fine, I'll do it myself. She then puts a bunch of her blood in his fridge. Susan tries to record Edie confessing to the fire, but because Edie's not an idiot, she realizes what she's doing, and she's trying to get that recorder back. So they start tussling outside, and Edie gets attacked by a swarm of bees. Lynette follows Tom to some house, and she sees him with a woman inside, and she's done with that man. So when he comes back home from his little trip, her and the kids, they're all gone. Susan feels bad for Edie getting all stung up by bees and whatnot, so she says that if Edie tells the police she saw a random guy setting her house on fire, then she'll delete the tape of Edie confessing. And Edie's like, no.
Oh, I'm sure you'll turn on the waterworks and the whole neighborhood will come running. They always do.
That's not true.
Sure it is. You never miss an opportunity to play the victim. And you think just because everybody always comes to your rescue, it means that you're loved. Well, it doesn't. It means that you're helpless.
So Susan then tells Mike that she's not going to move in with him. Gabby is tired of Carlos making Xiaomei the priority like all the time now, and he's like, I need some space, you're crazy. And Xiaomei tries to make him feel better.
I make you sandwich. Roast beef.
Gabby's got me on this health kick thing. She'll kill me if I eat red meat.
I will not tell.
Betty is a lot of things, but she is not evil, so she goes to the basement to feed Matthew some breakfast, and Danielle comes out and whacks her with a crowbar, so they flee, and Matthew takes the gun with him. She is clearly the dumbest person on earth, because she also leaves Bree a note saying her and Matthew are running away together, and she's never coming back. And this was Bree's 13th reason, so she checks herself into a mental hospital. Felicia puts her plan in motion by planting blood all over Paul's house and calls the police, and Paul tells him that he's being framed and she's crazy, but they find her severed fingers in his trunk, so he ends up getting arrested. Felicia goes to a secluded cabin in the middle of nowhere and is never coming back to the lane. Betty is packing up the house ready to flee with Caleb, and she has a little flashback to the last time she left in a hurry. It goes back to last year when Matthew and his girl Melanie are fighting, and he's tired, so he breaks up with her. And she's like, okay, fine, but meet me at the lumber yard later tonight so we can say goodbye. She just wants to get it on. And Caleb ends up hearing this entire conversation. So she's waiting at the yard for Matthew, and oops, Caleb shows up.
He doesn't want to be with you anymore.
What does that have to do with you?
See, I thought maybe I could be your boyfriend now.
What?
I love you.
Oh, God, please tell me someone put you up to this, no? Because if you're serious, it's too pathetic. God, what the hell are you doing?
So she tries to fight him off and he knocks her out. And he's like, ooh, my bad. Then he runs home. Back to present time, Betty and Caleb are getting ready to go, but the police come and arrest them. These next two episodes go in between past and present a lot, so I'm only going to speak on the events that are important to the storyline. Susan shows Julie the house they're going to be living in for a while, and it's an RV. And Julie is tired of her mom being an idiot. Gabby wants her and Carlos to go for couples golf lessons, but he says he can't because he has to do community service. So he says that she should just go without him. Tom still hasn't heard from Lynette, so he asks Susan if she knows where she is, and Susan says she hasn't even spoken to Lynette. But she calls her 5 seconds later saying to come get her husband. Turns out Lynette and the kids are staying at a hotel, and she says she's done with that man. Paul is in jail, so he tells Zach to ask Mr. Taylor for some money so he can get himself a lawyer. And Zach doesn't want to do it because Mr. Taylor creeps him out, and he also thinks Paul is clearly guilty of something.
I rescue you from that miserable junkie. I give you a home, a life worth living, and now you're making me beg for one lousy little favor? I need the money, Zach. If you won't do it for me, at least do it for your mother.
We also get a flashback to when Bree and Mary Alice met for the first time, and the only reason I want to mention it is because of Susan's fuck-ass curly hair. Why would you do that? Bree was in the middle of having that flashback when Orson sees her at the mental hospital.
You're Bree Vandekamp, right?
Do I know you?
Orson Hodge, Susan's dentist friend. We met after her house burned down.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you.
Small world, huh?
Yes, excruciatingly so. What are you doing here?
Well, 3 or 4 times a week I visit my friend.
She also tells him to not tell anyone that she's at the hospital because she's not actually crazy. She just needed some place to rest. While she's at her golf lesson, Gabby sees on the news that a community service worker has been killed by a truck and the victim was a Hispanic male. So she runs home all sad because Carlos died, and Xiao Mei's like, Miss Girl, he's literally in the kitchen.
Oh, you're not dead.
Who said it was dead?
The police, they called me.
What are you talking about?
Honey, they didn't know all the details, but a witness said that they saw you run into the carpool lane to pick up a lawn chair that'd fallen off some truck, and then a bus hit you right in front of the road crew. Why aren't you with the road crew?
I paid Ralph to go in my place.
But she notices that he's all sweaty, and he says he went running on the treadmill, but Gabby thinks he's lying. Bree is not having a good time at the mental hospital because she won't talk to her psychiatrist. And he's like, ma'am, then why did you come? He then asks her about her relationship with her kids, and she doesn't want to talk about it. So he's like, yeah, you're gonna be here for a while because we have a lot of work to do. Betty is being holed up by the police because they know that Caleb killed Melanie, and she says, I don't know what y'all are talking about. And they're like, oh, okay. This ain't his jacket? And she's like, no. it belongs to my other son. And now she's thinking, huh, how did it get there? It then goes back to a flashback of Matthew with Melanie, and turns out Caleb didn't actually kill her.
This has been pretty traumatic for me. I think that you should come over for the next few days so we can talk it out.
We broke up, Mel. It is not my job to hold your hand.
Well, maybe I shouldn't go home right away. Maybe I should go to the cops first.
The cops?
I was attacked. It's my civic duty to report it, don't you think?
Mel, I just told you that Caleb did not mean to do what he did, okay? Melanie, please.
Screw
you. No, you cannot tell anybody about this.
I can tell who I want. Get your hands off of me.
We're talking about my brother here.
Your brother is going to go to jail for the next 10 years, so I say let go.
Hey, Melanie.
What?
Yeah, so, he's the one that actually killed her. Carl sees Mike at a jewelry shop getting a ring for Susan, and Mike tells him to keep his mouth shut. Zach goes to Mr. Taylor to ask him for money so he can get a car, and Mr. Taylor knows that Paul is in jail, so he's not going to give it to him. And Zach is annoyed because he's supposed to get his estate anyways, so what's the holdup? And Mr. Taylor is like, you're kind of annoying, so I'm cutting you off. And Zach's like, I don't think so.
What, are you gonna kill me? Prove you're a tough guy? See, that's why I can't give you the keys to the kingdom, kid. No balls.
Gabby is trying to get it on with Carlos, and he doesn't want to, and she finds that very suspicious. Carl is trying to stall on Mike proposing to Susan, so he hijacks Susan's RV to take them somewhere special. They end up at a house he bought for her and Julie, and Susan doesn't want to take it. But then 5 seconds later, she's like, sure. Why not? Betty calls Bree saying Matthew killed Melanie, so they need to find wherever him and Danielle are. So she packs up all of her things to leave the hospital.
You let go of me right now.
Hey, what's going on here?
I am trying to leave, and these morons won't let me. Do you know that you can be arrested for kidnapping, for detaining someone?
They don't let her leave, and she's fuming. Porter ends up in the hospital because he thought it would be a good idea to fall off the hotel balcony to get to the pool. Lynette calls Tom to tell him what happened, so he comes to the hospital, and him and Lynette finally talk.
I am not cheating on you. I never have, and I never will.
I saw you with that woman.
Her name is Nora. I met her 12 years ago. I met her before you. She was a dancer on the cruise ship. We had a one-night stand. I haven't thought about her in years.
Then why are you going to Atlantic City every other weekend to visit her?
I have another child, Lynette.
What?
She got pregnant from the one-night stand. Nora raised the kid without ever telling me. I only just found out about it. That is why I've been going back and forth. I am not having an affair.
Someone free my good sis immediately. The season 2 finale is one of the best episodes in television history, and I'm being so serious. Mike sees Susan moving into her new house, and he's mad because he knows that Carl is just doing this to prevent her from marrying him, and Susan's too stupid to see what is going on, so he goes off.
And that ring, that was for me, right?
Not now.
Oh my! Oh. Carl, are you okay? Oh. Are you okay? Let me see. Oh my God. Can you sit up?
Why these men are fighting over Susan of all people? I don't understand. Since Mr. Taylor is gone, Zach now has his entire estate, so he's rich. Paul then calls him asking him if he's got the money, and Zach's like, no, sorry, and then he hangs up quickly. He also tells his new lawyer to get him a new phone and a new phone number. Susan goes to Mike to ask him about the ring he bought, and he says he's not proposing until she gets rid of Carl. She feels bad about him hurting his tooth during the fight, so she sends him to her dentist friend Orson for a little checkup. Mike is talking with Orson and says, you look kind of familiar. And Orson's like, no, I don't think so.
When I first saw you in the movie theater that we'd met before. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure. I think I know you. Any chance I was one of your guinea pigs? No. The only prison work I did was back in Virginia. Your diploma says you graduated from Minnesota. I'm licensed in 3 states.
Gabby thinks Xiaomei and Carlos are having an affair, so she plants a bunch of baby monitors around the house to catch them in the act. Susan is trying to win Mike over, so she plans a little dinner date for the two of them, and he accepts. Tom and Lynette agree to let Nora, his one-night stand, and Kayla, his new daughter, come by the house so they can all meet, and it's kind of interesting.
Wait, I wasn't sure that I wanted Kayla here if we were going to talk about business.
Business?
I was hoping that we could talk about child support, since I've got like 11 years coming to me, right?
You never told me I had a daughter.
My lawyer thinks that I have a very good case.
We can't afford this. We have 4 kids. Tom just lost his job. That'd bankrupt us.
I'm the bad guy now when he's the one that knocked me up and abandoned his child?
Well, you didn't tell him about her till now, but okay. Susan tells Carl he's not moving into his house and that he needs to sign off on them getting a divorce, and he's like, fine. Bree needs to save Danielle from Killer Matthew, so she manages to get away from the doctor and runs out of the hospital before anyone catches her. Susan is telling the girls about her plan to propose to Mike when all of them hear something interesting coming from Lynette's baby monitors.
Like that. Sorry, that's Penny's baby monitor. It's always picking up weird frequencies.
No, don't turn it off.
Oh, move over. My knees hit the dashboard.
I will sit back. Better?
Oh, yeah.
So Gabby rushes home to handle business.
Are you done with my husband? Good. I have a little project for you.
Okay, Gabby, can we please talk about this? You're the one that gave me permission, remember? You said go have sex with somebody.
To have meaningless sex, Carlos, not to sleep with the woman who's carrying our child.
What does it matter? Look, we're even. You had an affair and I had an affair.
I had a reason to. You were never here. I've been here, Carlos. I have tried so hard to not be selfish and to put your needs above mine. I mean, for God's sakes, look at me. I have agreed to be a mother for you.
She should have done a lot more. Tom and Lynette decide to give Nora a check for like $30,000 so he doesn't have to pay her child support. But then she comes back and is like, thanks for the money, but I used it to buy a house 5 minutes from here so Caleb can be near her dad. And they're like, girl, you're kind of crazy. Danielle and Matthew have been holed up in a hotel this entire time, and she wants to leave, but they don't have any money. So she's like, let's just go back to my house and I can take the money out of my mom's safe. She can't open it because she's stupid. So Matthew runs home to get a mallet or something, and Betty finds him there.
You killed Melanie. You put your jacket on her body. I saw it, Matthew. The police showed me the pictures.
No, you weren't there. You don't know what happened.
Oh, God.
Caleb hurt her. And Melanie threatened to bring us all down because of that.
So your solution was to make your brother think he murdered a girl. And to make me think it?
What other choice did I have? I knew that you wouldn't hand Caleb over to the police. I knew that you would protect him.
I would have protected you.
Well, I really couldn't count on that.
Matthew.
You don't love me as much as you love Caleb.
And Betty's like, well, yes, but what's your point? She then calls the police. Matthew and Danielle are able to get the safe open and they're about to go, but Bree gets home first. She tells Danielle that Matthew was the one that killed Melanie, and Danielle's like, yeah, Okay. Matthew then brings his gun out and says they're gonna go, and Bree's not about to let that happen.
What are you doing?
Do it.
Stop!
Yeah, he's dead now. Mike is on his way to his date with Susan when some car randomly runs him over and drives off. And guess who was the driver? Orson the dentist. Caleb and Betty end up moving out, and Orson gives Bree some flowers and says he kind of likes her. And that is the end of season 2, and it's also the end of my sanity. What a great season, you guys. The antics never stopped, and neither did the men. We had murder, pregnancy, kidnapping, mental institutions, and the shenanigans will continue, so buckle up, people. If you made it this far, I really want to applaud you because you clearly have one of the strongest mental capacities known to man. Remember that Thrive Market is running that 25% off sale this week, so click the link in my description to get that sale plus 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.